Yes, sir. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are at episode three of Jacob's film perspectives already.
Yes, sir. We're back.
Yeah, it's a massive movie review tonight. So you got your
Yes.
boy Jacob Smith is in the building, ladies and gentlemen, the
Yes,
man of the
sir.
hour, and of course, your boy Deontay the Giant is here to help out with this massive monster movie review. Let's see. So we got like what six movies to cover,
We got 6 movies to cover.
and I'll just round them off real quick. So guys, if you this is your last spoiler warning. So if you don't want to get slammed with some information that you didn't need to know, now's your chance to run. But we'll save some of like the newer releases for last. I know Indiana Jones going to be the very last one, so we'll start off with Flash, and we'll work our way up from there, and then I'm I'm let's see, we got 22 seconds for the intro, so I'll play that, and then hopefully we get some shares going. So anybody that's watching this, uh, feel free to share the link with your friends and family, and to all the different nerd groups that you're in. Saturday Night Nerds is already covered, so we should be good on that. Let's see. So without further ado, we'll run that intro. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So it's episode three of Jacob's Films Perspectives, and you got Jacob Smith and yours truly in the building. How you feeling, Jake?
Feeling good. Feeling good. A lot of movies this past month. A lot of movies.
Oh yeah, we got our hands full for like the last end of June and then like early July. Some films that came out there. Let's
Yep.
see. So without further ado, we can hop right into the first topic, and that is the Flash.
The Flash. The Flash. I know you guys touched on it in Saturday Night Nerds, so I'm not going to touch on it too much. I just want to give my film perspective view of it. Uh, it got a lot of hate, and I'm kind of glad we waited to review it because it's interesting watching the box office drop
Right.
off. That's insane. I don't think it
Yeah.
deserves the hate it's getting or the box office drop off. I mean, I get Ezra Miller's a bad guy or a bad person, but the movie itself is actually, for what they had to deal with off camera,
Yeah.
obviously, and uh, just the production issues. And I mean, the movie's been in development since I was in high school, so I'm graduating college, so that tells you something.
It's like
But overall, I really liked it. The more I think about it, I'm a little leaning towards negative on it than I was. I do grade reviews, so I'll just get that out of the way. It was an A minus when I saw it. It's B plus now.
yeah.
It's really good. It's not great. Of course, the visual effects everybody's already beat to death. Uh, Obviously, the visual effects was an issue, and there's no excuse for that with all that money that they put into that movie. There's
Right.
no excuse. And the director tried to come out and say, well, it's supposed to be bad because that's how he would see it. You could still make it look cool and visual in a different way. I think he was just covering himself in the studio there. But Ezra Miller, they did great. I mean, I've never been a big fan of them as the Flash, even before all the drama and stuff. I just didn't think it was the right fit. And
Yeah.
they're a great actor, but I didn't think they were the right fit for Barry Allen. But
Yeah,
They, yeah,
he would probably have made a better Wally West if anything, but uh, he
a
was
little too
just enough to
goofy.
get by as Barry,
Yeah,
honestly.
they they he they played it good well enough. Uh, it made I didn't because I went to the movie thinking, oh, I'm not gonna like this just because of them playing the Flash, but they actually did really good, and I mean, they even poked fun at like the old annoying Barry kind of
Yeah,
with that because like the second Barry in the movie is like the Barry was in Justice League, so I felt like they were kind of poking fun at Joss Whedon there because they
right.
made him like overly annoying. But I think the character Barry Allen was played well, and I actually liked it. I liked him, and of course, you know the big thing is the Batman's. I think by far the best Ben Affleck Batman scene is in this movie when he's talking to Barry about going in the past and how the past affects us. And he's like, "You don't want to mess with time," and it's just him in the alley talking to Barry, leaning against a car. And it's sad that that's the best scene we've gotten with Ben Affleck's Batman. I think if people say the warehouse scene, I don't agree with that. He's killing people. He, he's killing people left and right in that, and that's not Batman for me. So
Yeah,
uh, I I actually saw like a Bruce Wayne in that scene in the alley. I love that scene, and I didn't care for his suit in the movie, but there was some good Batman action at the beginning with Ben Affleck's Batman. I felt like it was a good send off for him.
yeah,
And Michael Keaton, I've never been a huge fan. I grew up watching Batman Returns, but I mean, I'm obviously I'm just about to turn 25, so I'm that's not my generation. I grew up with Christian Bale, so I mean, that's my Batman. So I didn't really connect with Michael Keaton's, but I was happy to see him back because I do like Batman and Batman Returns. I was happy to see him back. I think he did well, but the writing was so surface level that they could have just if they would have just dove into Michael Keaton's Batman. There's something really interesting there, and there's also something really interesting with Barry Allen going back in the past with his mom. And there is one scene at the end with his mom that is pretty emotional, but besides that, it could have been way more emotional. I think the script really let the movie down and the visual effects.
yeah,
But at the same time, I see it as a big popcorn blockbuster action movie. Like it's not deep. It's not. There's not a lot of deep themes. I mean, there should be deep themes going on in there, and I mean they hint at the deep themes, but they never touch on it. But yeah, I would. It's a B plus. It was really good. I still, if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Checking it out if you're a big fan of DC or superhero movies. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on Flash. I don't have much to say there.
yeah. Because I know we did like a thorough review of it on Comically Inclined a little bit, and then we
Yeah,
like skizzed over a little bit in the last episode. But in case anybody didn't catch that episode yet, uh, I pretty much felt the same way Jacob felt. Michael Keaton was they didn't do him the perfect amount of justice, but they did just enough to get by, and then it kind of like it took what's the perfect word for this, distracted you away from their screw ups by all the comedy, because I did laugh the entire movie and I was just about on the floor uh the entire movie. The comedy writing was top tier, but I don't know if Flash needed all of that for this movie. um and then honestly, this is like very James Gunn-esque of a Flash movie. Only thing missing was the soundtrack. Like if you would have gave it a bomb soundtrack, this would have been a James Gunn movie. Uh,
yeah.
oh, and first commenter of the night is Mr. Blake Hickman from Comically Inclined. What's up, brother?
What's going on?
Yeah, we're just doing a brief review of the Flash because we know we've kind of beat the dead horse a little bit, but we, since Jacob's film perspectives, we just got to get these movies in, and so I would say Supergirl was handled all right. That I can't really claim her as my Supergirl, but she did a great job. I won't fault her for anything. A lot of it's just directing and writing that went wrong with the movie, and the infinite loop thing where they kept trying to save Supergirl and Batman from dying, and it just kept dying over and over. It was just like, uh, I see the intentions behind this, but I think that honestly was a bad idea because now it just looks like you're abusing really beloved characters at this moment and just making Supergirl look like the biggest punk because she's repeatedly dying. Keaton's dying over and over no matter what you do, and that makes sense because he's up against Kryptonian, so he's without a contingency plan. So of course he wasn't going to last long. Uh, but the fact that Flash, like 20 something year old Flash and then 18-year-old Flash, kept going back in time to see if they could get redos over, and it's just like you're just making it worse. And so there are some things they could have done better for sure. I would have expected this type of comedy to be in like the Wally West Flash movie, but not so much Barry. Because if you watch Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie, that is a prime example of how you could do a Flashpoint Paradox event and not get into any kind of trouble. So like Jacob said, like good send off for Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne, good send off for Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman,
I even forgot
and
she was in the movie.
yeah, like very first scene too. So hey, we warned y'all about spoilers. So
Yeah,
she lassos of the truth saves the day, has Bruce Wayne spilling his feelings out. Um,
which was also if you that was a redo of what they did in the Justice League version of Justice League with
yeah,
Aquaman.
the Justice League.
Yeah, I mean that they basically just redid that scene but with Batman instead, so that wasn't really great, but yeah.
Yeah, I like Blake was saying, like the after credit scene was kind of pointless too.
One of the
It's
worst
like
after credit scene I've ever seen, Blake. I agree with you. It was pointless. Like why I remember just sitting there like why did I just wait through all these I mean it's nice to watch the credits to see all the people that worked on the film because a lot of people
right.
don't get the credit they deserve. But because a lot of work does go into film that people don't see, but it was just a waste of an after credit scene. It was just so pointless and that it just made no sense and I was just like why did you add why okay. Yeah.
It's like, yay, let's just sit there for like 5 to 6 minutes and just watch Jason Momoa sloppy drunk trying to get to a hotel, and then he makes snow angels in like a random pond. Like, what? What is this?
Yeah. And the joke is he falls asleep in there, but he can breathe underwater. Woohoo!
But as far as like contribution to like anything DC goes, honestly, I didn't get nothing out of it for as far as like DC going forward because it's people teasing like Sasha Kaye would love to come back as Supergirl. Like that doesn't mean shit. Like everybody wants a role, so why would you tease us like that? And James is going to have to go and recast all of them, and he's already recasted Soups. So uh, we can either expect a new Barry Allen or maybe a Wally West in the future, a new Bruce, uh, Damian Wayne, and a new Wonder Woman. So my overall score that I gave to it last time was probably a B plus. But I'm gonna this time I'm probably gonna chop it down to a B minus just to keep it a little bit more humble.
I can
So
see
about
that.
like a 8 out of 10.
I can definitely see that.
Um, and I think that's all I got for the Flash.
Yeah.
If you have anything else to
I just
add,
have a few wrap up thoughts, and then I'll be done with it. I felt that because I didn't even touch on Supergirl. I feel like Supergirl was done okay, like you said. I agree with that. There was a good moment when she saw how Zod was to humans, and then she wanted to help. And that was a cool scene when she lifted Barry to get struck by lightning. That was a pretty cool scene. And I mean, she was a great actress to play Supergirl. I mean, she fit the role. It was good, but I just see it as a turn your brain off movie. Honestly,
Yeah,
I don't want to be like Martin Scorsese here, but it does feel like a roller coaster cinema ride. Like it does not feel like it doesn't feel like a real film in some ways. It's very much just a turn your brain off superhero movie, and it's honestly for that I enjoyed it a lot. It made me laugh a lot, and yeah, I remember the early press was saying it's one of the best. Tom Cruise even said it was one of the best films he's ever seen. Tom Cruise said that. So I mean, the hype for this
oh,
movie was unreal, but definitely did not live up to the hype whatsoever. Which that's not always on the movie. That's more on the people that are hyping it up like that. But yeah, there was deep themes there about going back, not messing with the past. I did like how the Flash kept going back, and he just became the uh, dark
like
version of
the
whatever it was called, where he
yeah,
had all the shrapnel from all the Kryptonians stuff. I liked how it showed that no matter what he did, it didn't matter because I that sometimes you just can't fix things and you got to move on. I like that message, but it
right.
wasn't executed well. And besides a scene at the end in the grocery store with his mom, it was
Yeah,
not not touched on it. It just wasn't. They could have done so much more with that theme about not wanting, moving on from your past, trying to get over trauma, not trying to change things. And I mean, they could have done it perfectly with Michael Keaton as well, and they could have tied both of their storylines together and had weave those together. It could have been written so much better. But it's a movie. I say if you really want like a if you really like those elements and you didn't think they dove well enough into it, just go watch the Flashpoint Paradox animated movie. Honestly,
oh, that is the prime example of how a
yeah,
Flash movie could have been done in live action. And
yeah, but
honestly, yeah, I do have some final thoughts on it. And if you could have just built up to like a Flashpoint Paradox movie, because that's like an in game huge deal for anything
yeah,
DC related. And the Flashpoint Paradox movie was focused on like Arthur Curry's relationship with Wonder Woman, and the fact that they were like having an affair, and then Wonder Woman got jealous and decapitated Mara, and then because of that, Arthur and the Atlanteans waged war on Themyscira, and that whole war was so insane that it basically was like apocalyptic level, and that's the type of stuff you want to see in like live action, because that movie had absolutely no business going as hard as it did, and
yeah,
uh, that's what I expected when DC first announced it and said, "Yo, like we're gonna do a Flashpoint movie." I was like, "You do realize like that's a huge deal, and you got to work your way up to that." And it was just everybody had faith in it. I didn't. Uh, and technically, this movie that we saw in 2023, that was kind of a Flashpoint movie. They just named it Flash. But yeah, if this was supposed to be like the send off for the whole Snyderverse, it's just not my cup of tea.
yeah. I mean, that's all I got to say. And I will say, it is. People are gonna hate me for this probably, but it is my second favorite DCEU movie. And I
Yeah,
know that's crazy because people love Man of Steel and people love some people love Wonder Woman. I enjoy. If I had to pick one, I'd rather watch this over Wonder Woman or Man of Steel. And I know that's crazy to people, but I never really cared for the DCEU the last 10 years. This Zack Snyder's Justice League is my favorite. and that's just because it actually has thematic elements that pay off, and it's the most. As a film nerd, it's got the best writing and the best story of the whole DCEU by far. I mean, he has 4 hours to cover it, so that helps. But like, yeah. But the Flash, I'll end it on a positive note here. I said a lot of bad stuff about it, but at the same time, I enjoyed watching it. Ezra Miller did great as Barry Allen, and he didn't annoy me like I thought he would, like he has in
Yeah.
the past in the previous movies. And I I really enjoyed Michael Keaton and what he did, because Michael Keaton's a terrific actor. So even if you give him subpar stuff, he'll elevate it. And Sasha, whatever her name is, I can't remember.
Sasha Kaye.
Yeah, Sasha
Yeah.
Kaye, her as Supergirl, she did the best she could with what she got. And I mean, it's enjoyable. It made me. I will say, it made me laugh. It is really funny, and it has great comedic writing for sure, like Deontay said there. But I just wanted it to go deeper into its themes. Is my only issue, and the visual effects. But overall, it's still really enjoyable. I recommend watching it for yourself and making your own opinion, because there's a lot of people are either loving it or hating it, and I think it's somewhere in the middle. So just go and view it yourself. And that's all I got to
Right.
say about that.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Only reason I gave it like a solid 8 and maybe like a B minus is because I know every time I think about it, the score is just going to get worse. But
Yeah.
I won't let it go lower than like a 7 though. I won't let it go that low. It's definitely a movie I could go back and revisit and not have a bad time while watching it, but it's one of those DC movies that you get absolutely nothing out of it except like that blockbuster feeling. Like when you're just looking to have like a house party to entertain people. That's when you play the Flash.
Yeah, and I will say the opening scene. A lot of people hated the opening scene with the babies. I thought that was actually a really good, well done. I thought that was a well done. Besides the visual effects, I thought that was a well done, tense scene. Because I was on the edge of my seat that whole scene, and the whole chase with Ben Affleck. I thought the opening 30 minutes were great. I thought the opening 30 minutes were perfect for me, and then it just kind of dwindled down as it went on.
Yeah, they planned it very well. Like you can plan these scenes out really well, but the whole movie somehow still fell apart. I think it was the overall plot for me.
Yeah,
'Cause it was
but
just like, dude,
yeah, that's the Flash. You guys are probably tired of hearing about it.
rest in peace to that. So we got Asteroid City, The Blackening, No Hard Feelings, and Insidious, The Red Door. So I'll let you pick the topic number 2.
Let's go with the let's go with the Blackening next.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to get into this one. All right, so without further ado, The Blackening is up for criticism,
And also,
and
I just saw Blake Hickman's comment. Yeah, Wonder Woman is it's a pretty much a copy and paste of Captain America: The First Avenger if you really look at it. Except the first Avenger doesn't fall apart in the third act. Wonder Woman does for me, and so yeah,
yeah. Well, Wonder Woman. Now that I think about it, I was like, dang, it does have a lot in common with Captain America, and well, honestly, it's gal, so criticism was the last thing on my mind.
yeah,
So
that's true.
that's my baby.
But
But yeah,
the Blackening. Let's dive into this. This is a movie. I'll be honest with you. I watched it when this come out. 3 weeks ago. Watched it. I watched it when I watched The Flash. So 3 weeks ago, yeah. And I've honestly forgotten about it. I think that's the best assumption, or the best sum up of what that movie was to me. Was just forgettable.
it was very forgettable. It's one of those movies where like somebody mentions it years later from now, it's like, oh,
Oh yeah, I
that
saw that
name
one
sounds
back in the day.
familiar.
Yeah.
I
But
don't remember any further details.
it was funny. It made me laugh out loud a few times. It had some great laugh out loud moments. There was some good comedic writing. I don't even remember his name. The Urkel copy.
Oh, I forgot all the characters' names.
Yeah, you
Oh,
forget their names, but the one that was basically ripping off of
yeah.
Urkel. He's basically Urkel, basically. He was the best part. Just my Hyundai, just just him mispronouncing things and him being a nerd and just like, yeah. But the horror was so basic. Rednecks with crossbows. Okay.
I do remember that. God.
Two twin brothers with crossbows. Okay, that's very creative. A Saw like premise. Uh, what else was there?
Uh,
It falls apart. It completely falls apart in the third act when the villain, which is the Urkel guy. I forgot his name. I'll just call him the Urkel guy. The villain reveals his whole plot. It is not. It's not. It doesn't. It's not believable. It doesn't make sense. It's like, why did you wait 10 years to do this on this certain Juneteenth? Like, you could have done this on any Juneteenth. Why'd you pick 10 years? Why'd you pick 10 years to the day? There's no rhyme or reason for that. They completely forget about the one character I remember is Miranda. I remember Miranda. They kill her off screen. Like, you see the guy coming after her when she's up the stairs, but then they kill her off screen, and then you see her body being dumped like 30 minutes later in the movie. It's like, okay, what happened to her? Like, they forget about characters in the script. Like, the script felt like definitely like somebody's first script that they wrote where they forgot about characters while writing it, and they're like, we got some good punchlines here, and there was some good punchlines, but they didn't have much of a story to build around those comedic scenes.
yeah, I definitely feel the same way because it's like you got like a mysterious game that this movie is supposed to revolve around. You get no explanation for why the game is even there and where it came from. Then you got
Or
the
how it's made.
random assassin hillbillies that got hired by people that we never found out who hired them to do the job, and it's just there's no history to anything in this movie. It's just like I wonder if the writers was just like, don't take this too serious because it's supposed to be like a horror com. So, but at the same time, you put just enough care into it to where the plot doesn't make us even more confused than how we started. Because I watch parody movies all the time, like scary movies 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they all turned out well, and I wasn't angry when I was done watching them. But
And of course, I mean, it's called the Blackening. It's a lot about race and social issues, and it's a lot. I felt like the jokes were pretty well in taste. I didn't. None offended me. I wasn't offended by any because they do like to. They make fun of white people a lot in the movie, which is fine.
quite a bit, yeah,
I went in knowing that, and I mean, I make fun of white people all the time. So I mean, I I
yeah,
didn't I didn't. White people are dumb sometimes, so I was not offended. That wasn't my issue with the movie at all. I just wish it was written better because it did have some great comedic moments. There was the best moment in the whole movie is when he's shooting at the guy and the guy grabs his gun and fixes it for him. That is, I died. I couldn't breathe. Like, I died laughing at that part. But so there is some parts that will take you out. Like, it's hilarious at parts, but overall forgettable. I think I give it a B plus when I watched it. I'd probably go B minus now if because I mean I have not thought about it since I've seen it, and it's not going to
yeah,
be one I rewatch or buy or own or anything like that. It's just it's basically a movie. If you want to go on a date or something, go and want to laugh, just watch that. It's just like
yeah.
mind numbing. Not it's not really well written film.
Yeah, because we're both film majors too, so it's just like, man, I don't want to criticize this movie, but especially because like not only is the cast like people of color, but like the staff behind this movie are people of color. So it's just like I want to give them a chance so bad, but it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm being fair to the rest of the world by like letting them pass for mediocrity and then like going ham on somebody like Sam Raimi when they mess up. And it's so I try to keep it fair across the board for every movie I watch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I take politics out of it when I review movies. I just try to
absolutely.
I watch it as a film and see how it's meant. Because I mean, of course, like Deontay said, we're both film majors, so I see a film with. When I look at a film, I'm looking at camera movement, structure, storyline, all that. I'm not looking for political messaging or virtue signaling or any of that. I'm just looking for a well-made film. And The Blackening was not well made, but it wasn't terrible either. It's just in the middle. It's a mid. It's mid.
It really is. Kelvin Catley just popped up. Shout out to Black Mac over at That Feeling Podcast Network. Thank you for stopping by. We're not sure if you've seen The Blackening, but it's a horror comedy movie that came out just a couple weeks ago, and me and Jake just got through tearing into it a little bit. I do have some like final thoughts on it. Um,
I
so
appreciate that, Kelvin. I appreciate that. Thank you. I wore it today on purpose because we were talking about some horror movies. I was like, I'll wear my Camp Crystal Lake shirt. It's a little crooked right now. I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That shirt is dope, and honestly, I wish we would have gotten another Jason movie, but I won't put that energy out into the universe yet. Um, as far as the Blackening goes, yeah, my overall score on the report card will probably be like a solid C, and then I'll give it a 6.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's definitely worth the one time watch. Like if it comes to streaming service first, catch it on streaming service. Don't spend $14 for it. Like where I'm from, we get like the Tuesday matinee, so tickets are a lot cheaper. You could go then. Don't waste your bread. It's definitely like if you want to. How would I say this? Like show up and show out. Like you could bring some your friends like that, like people of color, and have a good time of it. But like the first 30 minutes of the movie was rough, but then they introduced the Urkel character, and he carried the comedy, and then
Mm,
wind up being the bad guy right after that too. And so
yeah.
I don't know if the movie would have made it without him because the two main characters were like a toxic couple, and that was already going downhill.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite social media comedians, Melvin Gregg, he starred in the movie too. He was the light skinned guy that ended up getting shot.
Mm,
Uh,
okay. Yeah.
and
I'm not
then
familiar with him.
who else was in them? I don't know any big names, but they had a nice little roster going. It's just their script was just that bad.
Yeah.
Like
It's not the actor's fault at all. It's the script.
yeah, if it wasn't for the comedy, this movie wouldn't have even probably not even made it to a theater. But yeah, a solid C, 6.5 out of 10 for me. And if it comes to streaming service, I might watch it again with some friends if we're drunk and we have absolutely nothing else to put on. But yeah, that's all I got for Blackening. Let's
Uh,
see.
I
You
don't.
you
I'm done. That's
awesome.
that's the best stuff
So
I got. Let's go. Let's go. Asteroid City.
all right, I still haven't seen that one yet, but I have seen a couple others on this list.
Okay. Uh, Asteroid City is a Wes Anderson movie, and Wes Anderson is definitely an acquired taste. He's more. I'll even attack myself here. He's more for like film nerds like me. He's more of you learn about him in film classes. Because he has such a distinct style. And I've only seen two of his previous movies, Rushmore and The Grand Budapest Hotel. And The Grand Budapest Hotel is top 100 favorite movies of all time for me. It's great. I'll highly recommend that one. This one, The whole time I watched it, I was the only one, and me and my pal I went and saw it with. We were the only ones in the whole theater. So, and it was opening weekend too, on a weekend night. So, I don't think it did well at the box office, which Wes Anderson really never does because he's such an acquired taste. But it has the all-star cast: Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Adam Brody. Oh my God, Margot Robbie's in it.
Oh,
Who else is in it? There's just so many people; it's hard to name. But those were like the big ones that stood out to me. I want to say Tilda Swinton's in it. The little the girl that plays Beverly in the new It movies is in it. A few. It's an eclectic all star cast for sure. But it's basically it's about a play, but it's hard to explain it. It's basically you're in a play. Bryan Cranston, Walter White himself, introduces you to this play, and then you go inside the play, and then the play is about these people that go to this town called Asteroid City in New Mexico. I think it's in New Mexico, where it's somewhere out in the desert, and it's like a nuclear testing site, and I'm guessing the 50s, 60s is what it was, and aliens show up. Jeff Goldblum actually does the stop motion for the alien. You don't see just Jeff Goldblum, but he does the body for it, which is pretty cool. And aliens show up, so then they get quarantined and they have to stay there. And it's basically just them trying to figure out what's the meaning of life, basically, and like them seeing that there's life out there. They're trying to find the meaning in their own life because it follows the main guy who is he's a little kid in Rushmore. I forgot the actor's name, but it's the main guy. His wife dies, and it's about him and his kids after his wife dies. He's a widow, and Tom Hanks is the grandfather, and they're just all trying to find meaning in life. Basically, it's basically one of those movies just trying to find the meaning of life and what is life, and it raises some important questions. It does what it. I can't really recommend it to everybody because Wes Anderson is such an acquired taste
yeah.
that a lot of people do not like him, so I can't really recommend it to everybody. But if you're a Wes Anderson fan, definitely check it out. I liked it better than Rushmore, and that's one of his usual best ones. People say I watched it. I still give it an A minus. It's a great movie. It's very smartly written, and it ends on a very ambiguous note, which a lot of people hate. But if it's done right, I like that, and it's done pretty well. I mean, I feel like he could have touched a few things up a little better, developed a few characters a little better. But other than that, no, Asteroid City was a great watch. Definitely, if you're a Wes Anderson fan, check it out. And honestly, I don't have much more to say on that because there's not much to. I mean, I just spoiled the big part is aliens show up because that's not shown in the trailer. But other than that, there's really not much to talk about. You kind of got to watch it for yourself. I will say it left me and my friend who watched it kind of like spaced out after the movie because it does make it leaves you dumbfounded because you're kind of like, man, what did that movie mean? What was it trying to reach at? And it's one of those movies you research after, like, what was the meaning behind the movie? What was the meaning behind this? What was the meaning behind that? And you kind of have to make your own interpretations of that. And if you're not for that type of movie, definitely do not go see that because it's definitely an open-ended ending, and you have to kind of make up your own explanations for things. But I think it's well written enough, and the cast all the acting is great. And there's one particular scene between the main guy and Margot Robbie that's the best scene of the whole movie. Which, if you love Margot Robbie, she's only in the movie for max 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So don't go see it just for her because she's not in the movie much.
Yeah,
But
go see Barbie for her.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson's in the movie quite a bit. She's basically the secondary main character, and she's really great in it. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on Asteroid City, honestly.
Yeah, what was your score for it again?
I gave it an A. I'd go A, still probably A, honestly.
Nice.
I liked it a lot. I'd watch it again. It's one you could watch. It went by so fast. It's 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it goes by in like 30. It feels like a 30 minutes goes by. It goes. The pacing is perfect, and the direction is perfect. Everything is perfect about it. It's just in the script is where they could have done a little bit more. It's a little too open ended. They could have added a few more explanations. I would have liked, but other than that, I think it's a. I think it'll be a sleeper of this year. I think it'll be one of those movies people look back on like, oh man, that was a underrated movie that nobody saw. That's a gem. I think it'll turn into one of those.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Grand Budapest Hotel is what put me on to Wes Anderson, and then like being a film major at SEMO is like everybody in our community talks about Wes Anderson, so there's
mhm.
so much hype behind that director, and so I'll give it a chance, but I may just wait till it hits streaming services and check it
I
out
would.
then.
Yeah, I'd say watch it on streaming services because it is a very because Wes Anderson's already a particular taste, and then the way the story is, it's a very niche. So I would say definitely stream it before you buy it. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So let's go. No hard feelings next.
Oh man,
We're knocking them
Jennifer
out.
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. Have you seen this one?
I'm actually going to go see this one on Tuesday, but the
Okay,
trailer looked.
I won't. This one I'll keep spoiler free because there's not much I could spoil anyway. But
Yeah.
I'll keep it spoiler free as much as I can for you because you definitely you enjoy it. It's Jennifer Lawrence. She's disappeared for a while out of the spotlight. She comes back with a vengeance. She is really. This is one of her best roles, honestly, and
Wow.
it is the return of the raunchy comedy, which I've been missing for a long time. We haven't gotten those in so long just because everybody's so sensitive nowadays and you can't do comedy like you used to. And but this movie brings you back to those old 2000s raunchy comedies. That's what it feels like. It takes you back, and it is absolutely hilarious. But it actually has a really good message. It doesn't have anything offensive. But there is some great like standout scenes that like me and my friends still talk about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after we've seen it. Like because it is there's a fight scene in the movie with Jennifer Lawrence that is so it's just amazing. It's
What?
yeah. There's a fight scene with her to Man Eater by Hall and Oates, which is a classic '80s song.
She's a man eater.
Yeah, and it is iconic. Like it'll be one of those scenes that stand out. It's an iconic scene. You'll love it. You'll love it. Like I don't. Everybody in my theater. I saw it in a packed theater on opening night, and it was everybody was laughing, having a good time. It's just one of those great. It's probably the best comedy so far this year. I mean, we haven't gotten much, but I'd give it an A minus just because it does fall into some of those cliches of those raunchy comedies and how it ends on kind of like a uh, cliche note. It kind of ends with a, oh, everybody's happy, everything works out in the end type of ending, and
Yeah.
it has some lazy writing there. But other than that, the story is. It was just nice to see raunchy comedy again in 2023. It was nice to see that because they actually pushed some boundaries with the jokes. It's pushing rated R. Like it's rated R, but it's getting to the unrated NC-17. Like it's pushing a few times. It gets pretty nasty with the jokes, but it's all in good fun. It's never offensive. It's all like if you love movies like Super Bad, Not Another Teen Movie, American Pie, anything like that, you'll love No Hard Feelings. You'll love it.
Nice.
Jennifer Lawrence,
Yeah.
she's back. I hope she starts acting again because I was never a huge fan of her. Like I watched her in the Hunger Games growing up and X-Men, but after watching her No Hard Feelings, I'm like, I want to see what she does next because she does really good. And Silver Linings Playbook is another comedic movie she's in that's great that you guys should check out. But yeah, definitely No hard feelings. I definitely recommend. If you're a little sensitive to sexual content and nudity, I would say probably not your movie. I'll just say that right now. It's a raunchy comedy. It's very raunchy for sure. It's a raunchy comedy. There's nudity, sex, and all kinds of stuff, and cuss words and everything. But I mean, if you're like that stuff that doesn't bother you, then definitely check it out. It's a great comedy. It is. It really is. I still think about it. Like there's still some jokes in it that stay in my head, and it's the main kid is really good too. I forgot what his name is, but I think this might be one of his first roles, and he is really great. He keeps up with Jennifer Lawrence, who's a seasoned actress. So I mean, it's impressive, and it is just a great comedy that we don't see anymore. So I highly recommend everybody buy full price ticket to go and see it. So Hollywood knows that we want that kind of stuff because we don't get these anymore. And I feel like this is probably the only one we're gonna get this year that's like this. So
Right.
definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely get back to you after Tuesday to let you know the verdict on that.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about it because it's everybody. I mean, even my aunt has gone and saw it. I mean, a few people I've known have gone and seen it, and it is definitely everybody's that I've talked to has loved it. So definitely go check it out. And I think it's a little underrated because not a lot of people are talking about it. Besides, like hearsay, I guess you don't see a lot on the internet about it, on film, Twitter, and stuff like that. You don't see, but it should be talked about more because it is a very well done comedy, and it's actually got some great shots. Like the direction, the camera work is actually really good for a comedy, and it's actually pretty cinematic. So yeah,
Yeah. What is like the overall synopsis for this movie?
yeah. The overall synopsis is basically there's this kid. He's a virgin. I think he's 18. He's about to go off to college. He's never experienced anything in life. His parents are like helicopter parents. He's never been to a party. He doesn't have friends. He just works. He spends his days at the local vet, just helping out. He doesn't even get paid. He's just a volunteer at the local vet's thing. But he's a really sweet kid. But he's very awkward and he's definitely in his shell. And they're rich. His parents are rich, and they pay Jennifer Lawrence, who needs money to to pay off her bills on her house. They pay her to kind of bring him out of his shell and take him out. And I will say, some people the age difference is a little off because she's 33 in the movie and he's 18. So some people might find problems with that, but it's played well and it's played tastefully and it's not creepily done. There's not any like creep factor to it. It's really, but yeah, she basically just is paid to get him out of his shell because she needs a car. Basically, they tell her if you get him out of his shell, then we'll give you this car for free. And she needs a car because she's an Uber driver. So and she wrecks her car at the beginning. So she's basically trying to help this virgin nerd out for
Yeah.
getting him ready for college and parties and sex and all that stuff for a car basically is what she's doing it for at the first. But you know how these things go. She gets attached. The relationship builds, but it's very platonic. It's not creepy. It's not that, and she helps him find himself kind of, and that's where I say the cliche moments are because the story is cliche, but it's done so well and it's so hilarious that it's fine. Like you can be cliche if you can do it right, I think, and they do it right
Right.
for the most part.
Yeah, it kind of. Have you seen the movie Girl Next Door from like way back in the day?
That has been on my watch list, but I have not seen it. No.
It's like from what I've heard so far, it's almost like the modern day version of Girl Next Door because Girl Next Door came out like late 2000s, probably like 2006 or seven. I'm probably all off with my years, but it's definitely 2000s. And this dude wasn't necessarily like a virgin, but he was kind of like not the coolest dude around, and he had like a porn addiction, and the girl that he asked to go on a prom date with him, is a porn star, and then all sorts of madness just unfolds from there. But the comedy is pretty elite. I still remember lines from the movie to the very day, and it's always worth the money to see it again. Uh, so that's the kind of vibe I get off of no Hard Feelings. But I don't know, because a lot of people might have like misunderstood it and been like, is Jennifer Lawrence like an escort that they hired to?
Yeah, she's not. She's just actually she works at a bar and she's an Uber driver. She's not a prostitute or an escort. She's none of that.
Yeah,
She's just a regular girl, and they even make jokes about her becoming like, "What, you're willing to become a prostitute just for a car?" Like they make jokes about it, but she's not a prostitute. No, she's just a
yeah.
regular girl trying to save her house basically, and she has to get a car to make money. So it's just her trying to get a car basically.
I can respect that for sure.
And her and she is like, I mean, she is a very, like, sexually positive girl. Like in the movie, she is like, there's like exes that like she's scorned and stuff that come back and try to start problems with her, and that creates comedic hijinks, and there's so she definitely is kind of like a
Like a
luring
toxic, yeah,
luring toxic type. But yeah, she by the end of it, they kind of both learn from each other, and there is some cliches to it, but there is some good parts, and it's got some laugh out loud moments, an iconic fight scene that I never thought I would say in this movie. I didn't expect the fight scene in this movie, but it is absolutely hilarious, and it's yeah, go check out No Hard Feelings for sure. That's out of all the movies, this is one of the top ones for sure.
absolutely. And did you already give your score on this one too?
Yeah, I go A minus probably.
A minus. Yeah, I got so scrambled up and trying to remember like the name of the cast, and then I was like, oh shoot, the score. So A minus, probably like a 9 out of 10 maybe.
Honestly, yeah, I'd go 9 out of 10.
Yeah, that's really good news because I'm not the craziest Jennifer Lawrence fan, and I don't see like most of the hype that's about her. I've never seen Hunger Games, but I loved her as Mystique.
Yeah.
Um, I hope she comes back to Marvel in some way or another, or she finds herself a home in DC and she bodies whatever role they give her over there. But that's like you're going to need some insurance for that. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out Tuesday and let you guys know what my final score is for it. So that is it for No Hard Feelings. And then we got the final two. So Insidious, The Red Door, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Let's go with Insidious. Save the best for last.
Oh yeah.
I won't say best because I'm not going to spoil my score on that. It may not be the best, but yeah.
True.
Insidious, The Red Door. Did you watch this?
I just got home from seeing it.
Okay, good.
And
All right, good. Have I'm guessing you've seen all the previous four.
hmm
Okay. I'll give that to you then. What do you think first? What did you think of what do you think of the Insidious franchise? Because I had a debate with two buddies of mine. One of my buddies, I introduced him to the Insidious franchise, and he really likes the franchise just like me. And then I have another friend that absolutely does not care for the movies whatsoever. So I kind of see it as a hit or miss franchise. So like, what is your opinion on it?
like the franchise as a whole, it was off to an incredible start. Like I thought, even as a grown man, the first Insidious movie was terrifying, and it got the job done. Like very first time seeing it, I think I was either yeah, I was in theaters with a couple friends back then, and even I had to have been in my 20s, and the movie made me jump, and like I had to double check my house when I got home. It was no joke for a movie. Like nobody died. Maybe like one person died in the movie, but it still like made its mark. And like I think I was in the military then, so we were living in like dorms, sort of like college dorms, and uh, somebody would have like a Bluetooth speaker, and I would hook up to it and play the Tiny Tim song, like
Mhm.
"Tiptoe through the windows," and then like just I'd make the building black out, and I turned off all the lights and play that shit as loud as I could. And people would hate me so much. It'd be like, "Bro, we all just seen the movie. Why are you doing this to us?" And like that, Insidious will always have a place in my heart. At least the first movie will, and the second was good. And I think there was a third one that I
Yeah,
didn't really care too much for. And the Red Door is like the fourth, right?
it's the fifth. The
The
last
fifth.
key. There's a fourth one called The Last Key that came out in 2018, 2017.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Last Key yet, and I might have seen the third one, but I don't think I've seen the Last Key for sure. I saw the Red Door without having any background or extra context to it. Like seeing Dalton, which was the little boy from the very first movie and kind of the main character, he's time skipped and he's full grown man now. And at the very beginning of the movie, he's made to forget about all the events of the past and learning about the further, which is basically kind of like limbo. Like anybody familiar with like supernatural aspects of things. He has the power to astral project, and the longer he astral projects, the more spirits get drawn to trying to take over his body while he's gone. And that opens up a whole can of worms of crazy stuff going. And it Insidious, as far as my generation of horror movies goes, is pretty high up there with Paranormal Activity. Like Paranormal Activity kind of fell off for me, at least by like maybe the fourth or fifth movie. But I was still entertained when I saw all five of those movies anyway. Uh, Insidious didn't really have the consistency to keep up with Paranormal Activity, so I would put Paranormal Activity franchise over Insidious franchise. But those first two should go down in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, those first two are two of my favorite horror films of all time. I love the first two. And
yeah,
a popular opinion about that is see, I didn't watch since I was late to the. I knew about the Tiny Tim stuff because I had a cousin who watched Insidious when it first came out, and he played that song all the time to mess with me because he showed me the scene and like, so I knew of that. And yeah, I watched them for the first time. I think in 2019. I want to say I went through all four of them, and then I rewatched the first two in the last year or two, just because I like them that much. The first two are horror classics, in my opinion.
mm-hmm,
I think they are so well written and they're so unique and so different from all the other franchises because it is about astral projection. And then they create this whole realm called the Further, and the way they visualize it is just from a filmmaking standpoint, it's visually stunning because there's just like fog rolling through the ground, and they just have the little lantern, and it's just the lighting is just it's really good for scares and stuff. And from my understanding from the film community is that the second one is the worst one, which I don't see how that could be because the second one is actually my favorite one, which is a hot take, unpopular opinion. But I put the second one above the first one for me. The first one on rewatch, it kind of falls off because when you once you get past the initial scare after watching the first one, they when you watch it a second time, a lot of the scares are just from the loud score. Like
yeah,
the score, it just goes. It's just like a loud piano key or something. It's just loud, and like on when you first watch it, it's terrifying. But when you watch it on rewatch, I guess because I guess because I know about behind the scenes stuff, I'm like, oh, I know what they're trying to do here. They're trying to evoke a scare here, so it kind of annoys you because you're like, nothing scary is happening. You're just trying to scare me with a loud noise, not with the story or a character. You're trying to scare me with a loud noise, so that kind of makes it fall off a little bit. And
right.
that's why I'd put chapter two above that because chapter two kind of dials that way back, and Chapter 2, I think, is the best written out of all of them because it has a time travel aspect from the first one. And this new one, which we'll get into talking about, has a time travel aspect to the back to the first two as well. So I liked that about it too because I always like time travel stuff. So like, yeah, chapter 2 was my favorite, and it still is my favorite for sure. But the first one
Yeah,
is classic.
it's definitely a classic. I give them points for like continuity and all that because they
Oh
they
yeah,
built a fantastic world with the world that they're in, and then the further as well. They built it so good, and Insidious the Red Door kind of keeps going with it because
hmm
I haven't seen the last key yet, but they kind of revisit it a little bit, or they kind of revisit the first two movies
Well,
where
I'll just tell you right now, the last key and the third one, you don't have to watch Red Door. You just have to watch the first two to watch Red Door. The third and fourth one are prequels, and
yeah.
they don't have anything to do with the first two, so you don't have to worry about missing out on anything.
Yeah, that's good because it's like that allows me to like take my time and go revisit those later.
Yeah, you don't have to watch.
Because
No hurry for those. They're kind of they're more about Elise. They're kind of like a prequel with her and her little team. They're not really. They're not Dalton and the family is not in those.
yeah, because I will have a hot take on this movie overall, but like the fact that they were able to revisit the Red Door and go in depth about well, I think that's part of my problem with it because they didn't go that much in depth about it. I did fall asleep in the movie like quite a bit. The first 30 minutes of it, I kept nodding off. Part of it was I'm not feeling too well today, but at the same time, like if it's a supernatural horror movie, like you want to get fed information that you need to get to the end of the movie, and it's just like they're so deep into the emotional aspect of these characters, like we need you to lock in for the next 15 minutes on why the dad is so sad, and then you don't really learn much about that until like later on in the movie anyway. So it's like why are these scenes so long? And it's just straight shots of him just frowning and reminiscing on uh some sad times in his life and why him and his wife split up. Because I not seeing the third and fourth movies, I remember the movies being left off with like the nun being in the mirror at the very end while the dad is looking into it, and then it just cuts to the credits. It cuts to black, and this movie kind of explains what happened after that cut scene. Like the dad got possessed, and he proceeds to beat up his wife and kids, and almost kills them until something happened in the movie where adult Dalton stops him from killing his younger self, which was really cool.
Yeah, I like that.
But uh, that could have came early in the movie. That would have made a great opening scene, honestly. Like to pick up where like Insidious 1 and 2 left off immediately, and then showing the emotional fallout. Like I could do that, but the movie started with them sitting at a therapist's office, and the therapist or the hypnotist, and the hypnotist is trying to make them forget about all the events that happened in the further, and that block starts a whole snowball effect of just trash, all sorts of nonsense that goes on from there. The monster doesn't even look the same as he did in the first movie,
That's
and that
I noticed that. Yeah,
that took a lot of the horror factor out for me too, because it's just like a dude running around with red face paint. I could go to a Buccaneers game and see a dude that looks like him. I don't
and it's
know.
and they made him more. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it felt like they made him more human this time. Like
It really did.
in the first movie, it feels like an actual like demon entity, but like in this one, it feels like a dude just with grease all over his face.
It really did, because it's just like he had hooves and everything, a long tail, and his
Yeah,
body was like huge. But now he's like a human size. He's got
yeah,
on gloves and like black body paint. Like
yeah. I didn't get that either.
It's like why would you do? And they spent and the promotion was so much hype about him. They were just like, yeah, the red man's back or whatever they called them. It was like, oh, okay, that's a good way to advertise this. And then you see the movie, and it's like, no, that's not a good way to advertise this. Oh my god, what are you doing? That's only thing demonic about him was his teeth, his eyes, and his claws.
I
Other than
will
that,
say he brings Tiny Tim back
he does.
twice. He actually plays two Tiny Tim songs. One we never heard before, and then Tiptoe Through the Tulips, of course. So that was good. That
Yeah,
was cool.
it brings back that creepy nostalgia that from seeing it in Insidious 1, and they still missed the mark on that. So I was creeped out, but I wasn't afraid like during the entire movie. So it's like an hour and like 47 minutes, and I'm just like fighting my sleep so bad because like I have empathy for the characters. Like I understand their situations, like very depressing. The dad and the mom got divorced because of that possession that almost got all of them killed. But they, they try to make it a little bit more cinematic than the first two movies, and it's just like, bro, just focus on the story. Don't worry about capturing scenes because that'll all come with it. Because they spent extra time focusing on like the heroic moments of the dad trying to save his son, and then when they finally get out the red door and trying to block the demon from getting in, it's like, oh, is the dad going to sacrifice himself? What's going to happen? And it's just extra time.
It is directed by the dad.
Oh,
The guy that
he
plays the
directed this
dad,
one.
he directed.
Yeah.
This is his directorial debut, I'm pretty sure.
He's a dope actor too because he
Yeah.
plays Ed Warren in
hmm
all the Conjuring movies.
He's in Aquaman.
Yeah, and he's Ocean Master in Aquaman. So I really respect him, but I don't know if this was a
Yeah.
directorial debut that you could brag about. It's
Yeah.
like
I say
they should have let James Wan do it.
I wish James Wan. I don't know where James Wan went. James Wan is just missing. I
Uh
mean, like
huh.
after he did Aquaman, I think he's doing Aquaman. He's worked on Aquaman. I think he did Aquaman too. But other once he got in the Aquaman world, I don't know. He just ran away from horror completely. Like I wish he would do more. Because he had no involvement with this whatsoever. I was watching it. It's actually the story is by Lee Winnell. I mean, that's his partner. So I mean, you get a little bit of that because they work together to create Saw and Insidious. They're a team basically, and but the story, I agree with you, and I actually agree with you. I like that idea so much. I think they should have started with that scene from chapter two because that scene is from chapter two when he's trying to kill them. If they
Yeah.
if they would have started with that and it showed, and that's how we see old Dalton and or college age Dalton is if he would have done that and when we went from there, I feel like they could have done that. Could have been it would have been a great hook, and they could have went in a better direction with it because the whole movie it's trying to be about fathers. There's a whole dad element to it because it's about his dad, Patrick Wilson's dad. I forget
Yeah.
Josh's movie, and then him, and then Dalton. But it's so surface. It is so surface. It's like the script is so lazy. It is so surface level. Like even like, and they even try to bring up. They even try to do a mental illness, mental health type storyline there too. But it's so subpar and so just face value. They don't dive deep into it. Where at the end, we're like when he hugs Dalton at the end and everything is all good. Like you don't really feel anything because it's like, well, basically Dalton just pissed at his dad because of something we don't know why, and then all of a sudden because it starts off at a funeral for his mom,
Yeah,
and
his
then
grandma. Yeah.
grandma of Josh's mom and Dalton's grandma and Dalton's mad at his dad, and like at the end of the second movie, there's no indication of they just jump into it. Like he's divorced from his wife. He's like, it's like okay, like you kind of they kind of throw you in the deep end there, where you don't know much about the story, and then they don't really explain much. And when they do explain stuff, it's so surface level where like they try to do the whole dad element, which I really because when they do dad stuff in movies, that gets to me, and it was just so surface level. Like they just, it was the most basic dad
Yeah,
storyline they could have done. Like, oh, I get it, but like it was basic.
yeah. And they draw like I think what killed this movie the hardest for me was probably the pacing, and then the jump scares too, because the jump scares like I they were making a hard attempt to try to like not be predictable, and it still ended up being trash anyway. So it's just like, bro, come on, like
I
if
can
you're gonna jump scare us,
I can
time
count
it.
maybe 4 scares in the whole movie. By the way, that's another
Yeah,
thing. It is very for a horror movie. It doesn't have many scares. Like there's the one where he's in the MRI machine. That one actually got me a little bit. I will say the
yeah,
I saw it coming, but it still got me. The MRI machine one got me. Uh, I'm ashamed to admit, but other than that,
I,
really none of them. I did like seeing the red faced guy back. I forgot what they call him in the movie, but like we were talking about before, it's like a low budget version of him.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense, and the whole thing with the red door where he gets a cut on his hand when he's painting the door, and then he makes it red with his hand, and then somehow him painting over it stops the demon.
It's like, well, how is that a solution? Like,
He just puts black paint over it, and his dad's okay, and everything's fine. And then
it's like,
he draws a painting of him and his dad holding him as a little kid, and he puts it on the wall, and he's like, "Oh, I made the wall," and it's like trying to end all happy, and then they bring in Elise for no reason. They're
yeah,
just bringing they bring her in trying to save it. I feel like where they're like, "Oh look, hey, we got Elise here," and then it's like, but why is she there? And she just disappears, and then it's like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, that was a lazy movie.
it really was because it's just like, man, if I'm feeling generous, I would imply that Annalise or Elise, whatever her name is, she's an angel maybe, because she at the very least they give us this hint like, oh, you'll see your mom again. And it's just like anybody could have said that to Patrick, and so to bring her back, they were just kind of being a little gratuitous a little bit. And I do appreciate seeing her. I honestly wanted to see connection with other verses because I think the Nun is a part of Insidious verse, isn't it? And
Uh,
all the Conjuring is connected a little bit.
I don't think so. I think you're thinking of the Bride.
Yeah, I could be. I could be off.
The
I
Bride.
know.
The Bride is in the first two Insidious movies. It's the
Yeah,
Black Bride. That's probably what you're thinking of because they look very similar to each other. Yeah, but I don't think they're connected. No.
yeah, because I remember the Nun very well, but I'm pretty sure that might have been Conjuring
Hmm.
because Nun is such an the Nun demon is such an iconic villain in horror movies, and it's like that whole
That was
Conjuring verse is connected.
Conjuring 2. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Conjuring 2 all the way up, and then you have these two Nun solo movies, and I thought I
First
saw
one.
a Nun,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's the Bride. Yeah,
Yes, the Bride.
yeah. So I don't know what to expect because for him to go from Ed Warren to Dalton's dad back in Insidious again, I think that was a missed opportunity for them to have a little fun with that. But that's just me though. You don't have to connect those universes at all because then you have a hard time explaining what is what. And they didn't even explain the red door. The movie's called Insidious, the Red
Yeah.
Door, and you see it open and close, and you see Dalton painting over it. That's all you get from it.
Yeah, like the red door is there in the first movie, and I'm guess what I got from it is the red door is the entrance to the red faced demon's lair. You know where he has Dalton in the first movie tied up and he's sharpening his claws, and then in this movie he has him chained up again. But other than that, they don't really explain much about the red door. And I mean, like I said, they try to do family stuff, like the whole dad thing, because like he figures out that his dad actually did not abandon him, that he actually he died, and he was schizophrenic or whatever, and he died, and he actually he said it ended with him. He tried to save Josh or whatever, and then that was kind of weird too, how they just brought that up in the fifth movie, like, oh, my mom lied to me. He never, he didn't leave. He died, and I was like, it was just, it felt like they didn't have an idea for a story, and they were just like, how can we make people that are nostalgic for the first couple that came out that were big hits? How can we get them back in the theater? It felt like at times.
Like, oh, I know, bring the red guy back and the red door.
Yeah,
It's
let's show Dalton
and
in college. Remember the little kid? Let's show him now in college.
you got that awkward scene at the frat party. It's like that.
Yeah,
Whew,
it's like
that was rough.
why even have that? And like the whole relationship, that girl obviously was weird because what girl would be stay with a guy who was saying, "Hey, I'm projecting," like, "Hey, I'm seeing these visions." Like, no, you would not meet a girl at college on the first day, and that girl would stay with you throughout all of that. That girl is not real.
At
That's
all.
such a movie character. She would have been gone.
The first time that she got strangled, like she would
Yeah.
peace gone. Like the fuck this happened here? Like
Like, I mean,
like
I liked that I liked because she was kind of there to add some levity, and that was good. But like, it made no sense. It was like, girl, why are you here? Leave. Like this kid is obviously not right.
right. It's like you
Like
just giving.
she believes it like off the bat. Like everything he tells her, she believes it immediately. And I'm just like, this is not how a real person would react to this situation.
At all. It's like you're just offering Dawson a hot, loyal girlfriend. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing, man? This ain't horror.
And then
Uh,
they're at the whole they make like the frat party such a big part of the plot, and it's like we spend so much time at that frat house, and there is no reason for it at all. And I'm just
it's
like,
just
why are
like
we spending so much time at a frat house?
he has this little like quasi misogynist sayings that he has, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
we
it's like
really
trying
did
to
not
show
need that.
frat people are pretentious or whatever, and he's like doing his little face mask or whatever, and it's just like, what is it? Why are we here? What's the point of this? And then they try to do a gross out scene with the vomit, and I'm just like,
Come
that's not
on, man.
really, and that's not like an insidious. Because like when I see insidious scares, I think of like slow, creepy kind of moving in on you scares. I don't see gross out horror when I think of Insidious. So that felt
Right.
so out of place in that movie. That whole vomit scene.
Yeah, it's just like before that vomit scene happened, like when he was in the bathroom, like still puking in the toilet, then he pulled his face out the toilet, and this, I was like,
Yeah,
there was no explanation. There was like a small backstory to it, like an accident happened and somebody died because of alcohol or whatever.
it
And
was
it's
one line of dialogue, literally.
yeah, it's like, come on, man, like you could have shaved off 15 minutes of this movie by leaving this out. Like, that dropped my score. That dropped my score even lower after that scene. And it's like I hate to say that about Insidious. Like the franchise as a whole won't be thrown in the garbage just because of this one screw up, but it does take a hit because of Red Door.
Yeah, when I walked out of it last night, I gave it a B. But like now that I'm sitting here like breaking it down and like we're actually talking about it and breaking it down more, it's a I'd go C now, probably C. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's a C for me.
I'd probably give it I give it a C minus out of pure mercy because it could have been a D plus easily if things would have just kept getting worse at that frat party. But
Yeah,
C minus is a little merciful for me. It's about a 6 out of 10, roughly
I'd go.
for
I'd probably go 6.5 probably for me.
yeah. Yeah, that's all I really got on that because I probably bash it all day, but I have to see it one more time, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's not one I like. It's one I'd watch. I'd watch it again just to see how I'd feel about it. But it's just because I love the Insidious franchise. But it was such a miss. Like I don't want to. Because it's film perspectives page, so I guess I can say this. I don't want to be like Martin Scorsese here, but I see so many places where like I could have written that better. I could have written that better. Like the whole movie I'm watching, I'm like I could have written that better. I could have like I'm pointing it out, and I'm over here a 24-year-old film major, and I was like I could. And the story is by Lee Winnell, the guy that helped create Saw and Insidious. So it does not add up. It's like he must have just did it for a paycheck or just cash.
Right.
He
He
just
was in a hurry to get something out or whatever, and
yeah, he did not take his time on that script whatsoever.
nah. And it's because there was no lead up to this too. Like I knew about Insidious: The Red Door was coming out like a month before it came out. Like the trailer just
Same.
dropped like a month. It's like
I
very
saw
last
somebody.
minute.
I actually saw somebody share it. And you know how like a lot of people they share like fake horror, like they always announce fake horror movie news all the time. You always see like a new Jason movie or something coming this year, and it never comes.
Right.
I thought it was one of those cases, and then they actually released a trailer like a month ago, and I was like, oh crap, it's real. I was like, oh, they're making a fifth one.
Yeah, I won't share any horror news unless there's a legit trailer out because
Yeah, because like it is so like people will just share like, oh, there's a new Freddy movie coming out. I was like, I've seen that for the past 10 years.
yeah, it's like what are you talking about, man? You're playing with my emotions.
Yeah, like when I see Freddy or a new Jason or a new Freddy or a new Halloween, I'm gonna be perked up about it, but then it's never real.
It's just like man, don't even post this in a group no more until we get a
Yeah,
trailer.
yeah. I
Yeah.
always wait for the trailer.
And we did get a Nun 2 trailer, so I'm very proud of that.
I didn't watch the trailer yet, but I hope it's better than the first one. That's all I will say.
Yeah, first one got me through, but for the trailers for both the first and this one were very impressive.
The
And
first
but
one was rough.
yeah, the movie itself was kind of rough.
It let down like The Conjuring 2 sets up the nun so well, and that movie is my second least favorite in that whole Conjuring franchise because it is just so base level and like they don't do anything good with it's like they don't really capitalize on that character. Like they have such a good character. Like the nun could go down as one of the most iconic horror characters. If they write her right,
Mm-hmm.
she could go down as one of the most or it because it's a demon. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it
I
could
think
go
his real
down.
name is Vonik. Vonik,
Yeah,
yeah,
Valak, something like that. It could go down as one of the best horror characters if they just write it well. Because like they had it right in Conjuring 2, but then they Nun, and it was just like, what happened here? So I hope the Nun 2 redeems it. I'm excited. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to it. I'll definitely check it out because anything in the Conjuring Insidious, I'll watch.
absolutely. Because I think it's dropping. It's not dropping in October. It's like September or August, I believe.
Oh, it's coming that early?
Yeah. So
Dang.
it's kind of like last minute advertisement, but a lot. It gave them more time to prepare than Insidious: The Red Door did.
Yeah, that can be scary though. Last minute advertising.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man, we gotta treat horror movies way better than this because right now we're on a losing streak.
Yeah, I cannot. I'm trying to think of a horror movie so far. We're over halfway through the year now, and I don't think
Yeah,
I can't really remember one that I've loved. Oh no, I can't even say Scream. I didn't love Scream 6, so I can't even say that. Maybe Scream 6 might be the best one, and it's not even that great. So
yeah. 'Cause we got the Blackening, we got Insidious: The Red Door, and like maybe like one or two others, and it's just like none of them made me want to go back and watch them again. So,
no,
but it's all good. Hopefully, they end the franchise with one more movie, and the next movie is better than Red Door. Because if it's not, then that's probably going to tank the whole franchise.
yeah. Right now, for me, I'm just like first two, and then I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll just watch the
Cause
first two, and then I've got my Insidious fix.
yeah, because it's like 2 out of 5. Like to have a whole franchise with 5 films in it and only 2 of them are memorable. That's like you're one away from like being like the worst horror franchise in the game. Like don't blow it the next movie.
I hope Patrick Wilson does better. I hope he directs more, and I hope he does better. It's always good to see people getting into directing, and I mean, of course, he had a easier route than most people because he's been acting in the franchise since the beginning. So, but as far as camera work, it was a very cinematic looking film, and it did have film grain. I did appreciate the film grain. I
Absolutely.
think they either used real film or they shot it digitally and then added the film grain, which is probably what they did. But it did look like it was shot on real film, like it had that real film feel to it. So I really did like that about it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the cinematography, especially the whole MRI scene. I was like, that's kind of
Mhm.
beautiful.
That was a good scene, and the beginning was cool too. How it showed the cross and then it kind of went upside down into up to the casket. That was a good shot too.
Yeah,
And there's some
I
good
admire that.
backgrounds. There's some good.
Hmm.
There's a scene where he's in the car after the funeral, and you can see his mom in the background. I don't know if you noticed that, but his mom is in the background, and you can see her walking closer to the car, and then she's not there anymore.
Yeah,
That was a good
yeah.
scene.
I fell asleep through quite a bit of it, but
Yeah, you
I
probably
did
just.
catch. I caught the plot overall. So I was like, dang, even if I slept through it, I woke up, caught the plot, and still didn't like it. It's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna spend bread on that again.
Yeah, it's instead of Insidious the Red Door, it's Insidious the Red Boar. That
Yeah,
sums it up. Sums it up. Insidious the Red Boar. That's what it is.
that's a fact. Yeah, that's all I got for the red door.
Same here.
So we can
Time for Indiana.
the
Oh,
grand finale
good old Indiana.
in the Dial of Destiny. I have not seen this, but I have read a ton of reviews on it, and I did have a Indiana Jones marathon up until it, so I don't mind being spoiled on this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay. Because it goes some places I didn't expect. I've seen this movie twice now. I've seen it the past 2 weekends. This is one movie I have stewed on, and I've thought about the past 2 weekends. I watched it last weekend in IMAX. I was up in Boston, and they had an IMAX theater up there, and I watched it there. And then I watched it just yesterday in Cape. Uh, so I've seen it twice now, and my thoughts on it are solid now. And I went back actually this past week after I went back and rewatched the original trilogy this past week. But
yeah,
before we dive into it, I'll give my history with the Indiana Jones franchise, and I'll ask you yours. Because I feel like this film, especially your history with the franchise, is really going to determine how you like it.
absolutely.
Because when I when I was a little kid, Indiana Jones was my hero. Like Indiana Jones was over Star Wars for me. Like Indiana Jones, I had the whip, I'm pretty sure I had the hat, I had the Lego PS2 games they had. I was obsessed with Indiana Jones. I watched it every time it came on TV. It was a thing with it was me and my dad. It was a thing shared with my dad. So it's got a special place in my heart always. And I saw the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008 in theaters, which is kind of depressing to say now because it's terrible.
Yeah.
When you watch it now, it's terrible. But
Oh,
when I was a kid, that movie was everything. When I saw it in theaters, I was so excited because I was 9 or 10 years old when I saw that movie. So I was just like, yes. And then I grew a brain, and then I was like, oh, this movie is god awful.
yeah.
What are you doing? What's happening? Like, so anyway, yeah, I loved the original trilogy growing up. I've seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I have not watched the movies since probably '08, since Crystal Skull came out. Because I watched Crystal Skull and then I got it on DVD and I watched it for that whole year. And then there was probably probably 2010 was the last time I watched any of them, and then I watched a little bit of Temple of Doom when I was in high school on TV once. But like I kind of, it's always been in my heart, but I didn't go back and rewatch them until this week, and
Mm-hmm.
rewatching them. Raiders is the best adventure movie ever made. It's a masterpiece, I think. It
Mm-hmm.
is the perfect adventure movie ever made. Like if you want to make an adventure movie, just watch Raiders, and that's all the inspiration you need. It's an A+. Temple of Doom, people hate. It's a lot of
I
people's least,
love Temple of Doom.
yeah, it's a lot of people's least favorite, or like, well, Kingdom of Crystal Skull, obviously, but of the trilogy, it wasn't received well when it came out. It wasn't received. It still isn't. It's still the weaklings of the trilogy they call it. But I've always loved it. It's always been my favorite. Short Round is my favorite side character in the Indiana Jones franchise. I love Short Round. My God, he's amazing, and he still holds. I rewatched it. It still holds up. It's a near perfect sequel. I give it an A. It's not an A+. It's an A for me because I have a few nitpicks with it, but it is still great. And then The Last Crusade is an A too, but it's closer to an A- than an A+. And if I had to rank them by quality, it'd go Raiders 1, Temple of Doom 2, and then Last Crusade 3, which a lot of people say Last Crusade is like the best one, and it's like the underrated one, and everybody's like, oh, it's the best one. It's got to be number one. So that's probably blasphemy to a lot of people that I have it at 3.
Right.
But even favoritism wise, if I had to go favoritism wise, it's Temple of Doom number 1, Raiders 2, Last Crusade 3. And if I had to go favoritism wise, because Temple of Doom is just so iconic, and it's just so fun, man. I watched them all this past week, and every night I watched one, and I had so much fun rewatching Raiders and Temple. They're both in my top 100 of all time. It's my third favorite trilogy. I love it, and it really helped to watch them right before watching Dial of Destiny, because I watched Dial of Destiny before I rewatched them. So
Yeah.
I missed a few references because it had been 15 years, so my memory's not that great. So I missed references, and I didn't really pick up on things. And then I rewatched them this week, and then I went and watched Dial of Destiny again. And that's definitely the way to do it. If you haven't watched Indiana Jones in a long time, definitely rewatch the original trilogy. You can skip
Absolutely.
Crystal
Absolutely.
Skull, but the original trilogy, yeah, because there's only one mention of Crystal Skull in Dial of Destiny, and it's about his son, played by Shia LaBeouf. But there's just a picture of him in the background, and he died in Vietnam. That's the only thing you need to know about him. And yeah, they killed his character off. They're like, we can't have Shia LaBeouf in this Disney movie. Yeah, they kind of did his character dirty because they're like, oh, Indiana Jones says my son died in the war in this
Right.
Dial of Destiny. And it's like, well, obviously that was.
I kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's my history with it. What's your history with them?
My list is kind of similar to yours. But I am a huge Temple of Doom fan. Uh, Raiders was my favorite at first, but like as an adult, Temple of Doom kind of spoke to me a little bit more, and so my list had to change. So I swapped Temple of Doom for first place, and then second place would be Raiders, and then third would be Last Crusade. And Temple of Doom, the reason why it stood out to me more is just because like I was able to like I kind of get it. Like I was able to follow along with the story. Like I was able to commentate like while the movie went on, and like I'm nitpicking everything that Shorty says because it's just like, man, this is a little bit stereotypical, but uh, if nobody has a complaint about it, about how the way Shorty talks or the certain lines he has in the movies, then I'm okay with it too. But it was pretty entertaining. I can't remember his love interest's name.
Willie.
She was it Willie?
Yeah, Willie.
Yeah, so he's always got. There's a formula to Indiana Jones movies, kind of like 007 a little bit, where like Indiana is like trying to mind his own business, and then he finds out about a treasure as usual. Random hot sidekick with him. The first movie, Raiders, I loved his love interest there. I can't remember her name.
Marianne.
Marianne. She
She's
was
the
so.
best. She's the best one by far.
Mhm. It's just like, dude, Indiana Jones is such a player. And then his love, the whole unfolding of their relationship with him and Willie throughout Temple of Doom was hilarious because
Yeah,
it's
a lot of people hate her character because of how annoying she is, but that's the point. That's what she's supposed to be.
right. She's just playing a role, and
Hmm.
that scene where he's in her hotel room and he's like, he's using all these metaphors for like sex. It, it, it's kind of smooth though, like for it to be written in that era and to not be completely cheesy. Like I was like, oh, wow, Indiana got some game,
Yeah,
and I was in the background like cheering him on, like yeah, smash, smash, smash.
yeah,
And I had a lot of fun with Temple of Doom. And then the villains of the movie, the formula for like Indiana Jones movie is like you got these little
Nazis,
grunts, yeah, Nazis and Raiders, and then you got like this Indian tribe that was I
thuggy
can't
cult.
pronounce Tahiko,
Yeah, they're the thuggy cult. Is what they're
Thuggy Cult,
called.
yeah.
Yeah.
And dude was able had the power to like stick his finger in your heart and pull
Rip your
pull
heart
your heart
out.
out. It was that kind of traumatized me as a
Still
kid.
beating in his hands.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. You see some gruesome deaths in all the Indiana Jones movies, but that took the cake for me because Raiders and the Lost Ark. The first thing I remember from that movie is like Indiana seeing like the guy who fell for the booby trap and his spikes coming out of the front of his body, and it's like the
Yeah.
blood looks kind of realistic. It's like whoa, like whoever
That's
did that prop.
Do you realize? Do you know who that is? That guy that died?
Not off the top of the head.
That's Doc Ock, Alfred Molina.
Wow,
Young,
that
young.
is awesome.
That's him. Young. Yep, that's him.
He's the first body dropped in that entire movie. I was like,
Mhm.
dude. And you forget how old these movies are because Harrison is young as hell in these movies. And
Mhm.
see him now, and he's just like wrinkled up, and is
80.
yeah, he's getting up there, and he's still acting and playing like the most prominent roles. I think they kind of use CGI on him whenever he goes into his Han Solo roles, and then they're supposed to be doing something of that nature to him as well as Thunderbolt Ross for Marvel. So that's going to be interesting. But outside of that, the formula, like he's always getting into fist fights with like the biggest dudes in the villains team. He fought like the biggest Nazi dude, and he ended up getting chopped up by helicopter blade propellers. And then the other dude gets like grounded up in some
Mhm.
kind of wheel. And I love it. Like, did they stick to that formula kind of with Dial of Destiny?
Yep. There is a big. I will say they stuck it to the Nazis. This is the third time now. No, the fourth time the Nazis have been a villain. The Nazis are
Yeah,
again the villain in this one. Everyone is the Nazi. I think is Crystal Skull is the Nazis too. So every one of the movies is Nazis except Temple of Doom. I think that's another reason why Temple of Doom stands out is because it's something different. But
yeah,
yeah, it's Nazis again, and it's there's a big dude, and he doesn't die in any gruesome ways, but Indy is not even the one that kills him. So, but yeah, it follows some, but it does stuff. It does different too, which I can get
yeah,
into when we get more into the Dial of Destiny. But yeah,
yeah. Because it's like from every Indiana Jones movie I remember, it's just like Indiana Jones apparently punches hard as hell because his slow ass punches just packs a wallop on every dude he hits, and he's able to just win fights that way. No martial arts or nothing. He'll just slug you like two times and then move on to the next. It's just like, yeah, you don't want to fight Indiana Jones at a bar.
Yeah,
before he even pulls the whip out. Like, ah man, like I'm good, Indiana. I don't want no smoke, sir.
yeah. Which Temple of Doom is. I mean, talking about the old ones, Temple of Doom is a little bit culturally insensitive. I will say
Yeah,
towards Indian people, and even I don't think Short Round is pushing it. I think Short Round's okay, but I can see where some people might have an issue with that. But you got to think it was the '80s, different
yeah,
time, different. I mean, it gets away with it just because of the tone of the movie. Like if it was more serious, because I see Temple of Doom, it's almost like a dark comedy. If you rewatch Temple of Doom, it is very because people call it the darkest chapter of the Indiana Jones movies, but there is so
yeah.
much comedy in Temple of Doom. Like it's hilarious.
It really is, and the movie, it keeps the gruesome violence going, and it's just I like how they go a little bit more in depth to like because Indiana Jones is kind of like an expert on the occult, and they kind of dive into more occult stuff with that movies because it's the Thuggee cult. They kind of worship their own Satan, and like all their sacrifices is for him and all that, and it makes Indiana Jones like step out of his archaeology side and I really appreciated that, and I would love to see like more movies where he's up against like people on different continents and like seeing like the different devils that they worship and doing stuff like that. But we probably won't get that now because
Yeah, I
Disney
think
just gave Indiana the axe.
yeah, Dial of Destiny is for sure the end.
Yeah,
But
but that's my favorite aspect of Indiana Jones for sure.
yeah, like I think that's a common thread among people who like horror. It seems like horror fans, Temple of Doom is always their favorite. And I
Yeah,
mean, me and you, I know we both like horror, so that could be because Temple of Doom does have the most horror-like elements to it. I mean, Raiders does too, though, because I mean, people's faces get melted off by ghosts, so and Raiders
yeah,
technically, so maybe that's why. But like, we like them more. But yeah, Dial of Destiny does not really have horror elements. I will say that there is one scene with eels that is pretty good because you know he hates snakes,
yeah.
but it's a scene with eels that is really well done, I will say. But other than that, it's not very. It's more of the Last Crusade route where it's more about the Nazis and trying to family and then more it has a family dynamic because Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays his goddaughter. It's so he has a
Oh,
goddaughter. It's some guy that he used to be friends with, daughter, and so it's kind of he's kind of playing a fatherly role in this one. And she even has a short round type character in the character of Teddy. She has a little young boy that's basically short round 2.0 and
yeah.
nowhere near as good, but
Mm-mm.
still a well developed character though. And that's I guess that's a great segue into Dial of Destiny. Is that is the best thing about Dial of Destiny is all of the characters except some of the like the main villain Mads Mikkelsen is great. Some of the side villains aren't very well developed. They're just dumb Nazis. But I mean, you can expect that from Indiana Jones movies. But when it comes to the goddaughter, Indy, and the main characters, I don't think they could have done the character development any better. Like this is by far what they had to get right. They got right is what I'll say with this movie. What they had to get right, they got right. They had to end Indiana Jones storyline on a great note. They did it. They kept it in tone with this character completely. Like if you go watch the old trilogy, he feels like the same character from the original trilogy. He feels Harrison Ford does not miss a beat in the role. Uh, he feels the same. There's still the same through line, and it's similar to Last Crusade. And at the end of the movie, he doesn't end up with the artifact, but he ends up with realizing that the people in his life are more important than these grails he's chasing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the theme of the Last Crusade. So it kind of has it's very similar to the Last Crusade and it has very similar through lines through the plot of the first three to this one, where it's like you could literally just go from you could just skip Crystal Skull entirely and go right to this one, and you wouldn't know anything different besides the one reference to his son, and that's it.
Yeah, that's definitely good to hear because Mads Mikkelsen is such he is one the greatest bad guy actors that I know by far. Because I wouldn't say he's like top five, but he's definitely like top 10, 15 for me. Um,
He does what he's smart and he's basic, and he has when I when I look back at Dial of Destiny, it has a lot of elements of the best movies in it. It has the Last Crusade element of family. It has quite a few Temple of Doom references, which I love. It references
yes,
Temple of Doom quite a bit, so you'll like that. It has a lot of Temple of Doom callbacks that are not forced whatsoever. They're like perfectly woven into this. That's another thing. They call back to the original trilogy so beautifully. Like there's so many references to, especially Raiders and Temple of Doom are the two they call back to most, and
yeah.
it's so well done and woven into the storyline. And yeah, so that was great. And Raiders, the villain in Raiders is kind of not the short Nazi guy, but the French guy that always,
Oh,
like,
Bellic,
yeah,
like his rival. Yeah,
yeah, the one, he always, like, Indy gets the thing, and then he's right there when he comes out to, like, take it
yeah,
from him. That's what Mads Mikkelsen basically does in Dial of Destiny. Like, he's always right there when Indy gets something. So, like, they kind of took that from, they take base, like, some of the best elements from the original trilogy and put it into Dial of Destiny. And
that's awesome.
that's what I'll say about Dial of Destiny is you can't ask for a better send off character wise for Indiana Jones. Like they could, I could not have seen a better way for them to end the Indiana Jones franchise and character than what they did with Dial of Destiny. Like it stays true to the original trilogy. It stays true to the character. Harrison Ford never misses a beat. He still feels like Indiana Jones. There's no oddness there. There is great elements and great callbacks that are woven into the story that don't feel like member berries or like something like, oh, remember this? Like they never do that. It's very woven into the storyline where you like it's a blink and you'll miss it reference, but if you love the movies, you'll catch it and love it. It's like they did all of that perfectly, and it has a very
Yeah,
and with that because I mean James Mangold directed this, who directed Logan. So
legend.
with that, I feel he was the best director for this film because he was able to end Indy in the best way. And I'll just, since you're not afraid of, I guess you don't care about spoilers.
Nah.
They don't kill him. Indy stays alive, so that's good. You think they're gonna kill him, but then you think he's gonna die, but they pull a fast one on you, and then he ends up living at the end, and it ends with him grabbing his hat, and I mean, and he actually ends back with Marion because him and Marion are getting a divorce in this one or separated, and it ends with
Yeah,
him kissing. It ends with him kissing Marion and them getting back together. So that's good. So it ends in the best way possible, and the ending is actually a callback to Raiders. So
yeah. So they brought back the best love interest. Basically, that's
yeah,
awesome.
she's only in the movie for about 5 minutes. She's mentioned in the movie more than she's actually in the movie, but she comes in
Mm.
at the end, and there's a great Raiders reference there. And they, like I said, they could have not done a better job ending Indiana Jones and his storyline and the franchise better than what they did with Dial of Destiny. So that's all my positives. Great character development, great action scenes. My issues comes from the Disney thing. Disney. It comes from the CGI, the visual effects, and a lot of what Disney. It
Reputation.
yeah, it feels. It doesn't feel like they ever filmed outside on a real set. Like it feels so like the first opening 20, 30 minutes is a throwback scene when he gets the first half of the dial when he first meets uh, the villain. Mads. I'll just call him Mads Mikkelsen. I know his name, but it's like a German name and it's hard to pronounce, so I'll just say Mads Mikkelsen. And that's good, but they do a deep fake, because they have to de-age him. So, and it is still we're still not there yet with technology and film. We're still not there yet. Like it is very, it's too uncanny. It's like they did it with. It's so weird that Marvel could do it with Nick Fury and Captain Marvel. Like that was not uncanny to me, but for
Yeah.
some reason they could not do it with Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones because they for the first 20 to 30 minutes it is him, a younger Indy, like it's him in the 40s. So but it's so uncanny every time you look at his face you're like, oh my, that's somebody, and they just put his face on it. Like it is, so we're not there yet, so that took it out a little bit. And some of the action is kind of cliche and it doesn't feel as risk taking. I will say, I feel like because it's owned by Disney, they played it a little too safe in some ways with the action and with the characters. They didn't go. They could have gone darker than they did, and I don't know if you've noticed this with Disney movies. You probably have, but Disney movies always have this glossy effect to them.
Yeah.
It's very glossy, very matted and glossy color grading. Like there's no film grain. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it was shot with like a real camera, like somebody was there. There's always something. Like there's even a scene where it's just them outside. Like you could shoot somebody outside and it feels like they're on a gigantic set, and it feels like it's just completely CGI blue sky. And
Yeah.
I think they actually filmed it like in outside, but the color grading and they do on it is just, it's so glossy and it's so matte. It just, you can tell it has that Disney feeling where you're just like, ugh, like it doesn't have the raw grittiness feeling that the first three of the trilogy have. It doesn't have like,
Yeah.
you don't feel like people are there with cameras filming this. You don't feel like there's a stunt double there fighting. You don't feel the filmmaking in it. And that's my biggest issue with Dial of Destiny is this visual effects and you just that Disney glossiness. And
Yeah. Disney does not have the best reputation. I think a part of that is probably like this thing that all these different studios are doing with their visual effects team, like giving them ridiculous deadlines, and like if they don't make it, they'll just take whatever they'll accept. And it's just like it makes you feel like Indiana Jones might have been rushed. So I can let Indiana Jones pass for that because this the special effects back then, like for Raiders of the Ark, like it was so I felt like it was so bare minimum, but it was perfect.
mhm.
And like when you see them like doing like a car chase or something like that, you don't really pay too much attention to like the green screen or whatever the heck is going on. Uh,
Yeah,
one of the worst green screen effects that I've seen lately was definitely one of them was in the Blackening. It's like they were on a road trip to get to the log cabin in the woods. Everything behind them just looked like the car was stationary, and but everything behind them is moving. So it's just like I it's 2023. I thought like film studios would be beyond that. And then I've seen the latest Jeepers Creepers movie, and they did the same thing with their car scenes, and it's just like, God, man, why are these studios like this?
I couldn't do it with the new Jeepers. I saw the trailer for that movie. I couldn't. I love Jeepers Creepers. I couldn't do it. I
It
applaud you. I applaud you for getting through that because I could not do it.
it's so bad. I couldn't make
The
that stuff
third
up.
one is so bad. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I think it was called for the fourth one, and it is just like the script is so out of place, and how they redid the creeper in general, and it's just like, why did you do that? Like,
I
I
skipped
feel like, yeah, you want to give like new screenwriters and new directors their chance, but I would not let them work on Legends. Like, don't let them do this. Like James Mangold was perfect to take over on Indiana Jones because he ended Logan and the whole Wolverine franchise with perfection.
I,
He
I
he, he handled he handled the Wolverine franchise better than freaking Brian. What's his name?
Singer.
The guy that I think he was the one that did the first three Wolverines, and Mangold took over for Logan, and then Spielberg did like the first three Indianas, and Mangold did Mangold do. I don't think Mangold did Crystal Skull, but he definitely
That
did
was
Dial of
Spielberg.
Destiny. That was Spielberg too.
Spielberg
God,
did Crystal Skull. Yeah, I don't know how that happened either.
how, how did he fumble the bag on that?
I don't know.
Like,
George
come on,
Lucas.
man.
George Lucas was a part of it, though. You know, George Lucas. He's not always a hit. He misses.
Yeah, he definitely got some misses in his inventory. And Spielberg, like the first two Indiana Jones movies, like my top two Spielberg movies ever. So I
That's
don't know how you
respectable.
go. Yeah, like how do you go from that to Crystal Skull?
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
either. I won't watch Crystal Skull ever again if I just yeah.
It
I've seen it
was
enough.
like thank you, James, for taking over Dial of Destiny, man. Because
Yeah,
I
and I will always love James Mangold because Wolverine and Indiana Jones were two of my favorite guys growing up as a kid. So like
yeah,
those are my heroes growing up. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. Two of my most favorite. I always had toys of them. Two of my most favorite growing up. So for him to come in and end both of those characters' stories on the best way possible, I'm always gonna love James Mangold for that for sure.
he's a beast.
Yeah,
Like
he's good.
I saw his resume the other day, and like he got some more hits under his belt too. So I expect him to, if he hasn't surpassed Wes Anderson in popularity yet, he will.
Yeah, I mean he did the 310 to Yuma remake with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. That's in my top 50 favorite movies of all time. That's I don't even like westerns that much, but that is such a good movie.
Yeah, he did one more too that I cannot remember off the top of my head.
He
I'll
did
probably
Copland, Girl Interrupted. What else did he do?
um this
He
gonna
did.
bother me.
He actually did the Wolverine.
Yeah,
He
he
did
did.
the one before Logan.
He did one of the Wolverines, didn't he?
Yeah, he did the one before Logan, the one in 2013, the Wolverine.
Yeah,
That one's pretty
and I
good
like
too.
that one.
Yeah, that one's not bad.
I didn't have too many complaints about the Wolverine or series in general. A lot of people hated it. I didn't care for like most of them, but I made sure my ass was in theater watching them when all of them came out. Um, let me see. So his IMDb
Oh, he
310
did
you.
Identity, which is a very that's a Jacob's Film Perspectives recommendation right now, right here. If you have not seen Identity by James Mangold, go watch it. If you love a crime thriller, horror movies, any kind of thriller like weird type, watch Identity. Go watch Identity. It's a very underrated crime thriller that nobody ever
Okay,
talks about.
so he did Heavy in 1995, and he did Walk the Line in
Oh, Walk the
2005.
Line. I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
That's a great biopic.
I was like, dude, Mangold's he if he's not a goat, he will become one easily. I respect him a lot in this new generation of directors, and he's not
But
even all that new. He's 90s,
yeah,
late 90s coming up.
yeah.
But
But Dial of Destiny, like I said, I want to. I'll sing it when I watched it in theaters the first time. I will say if you're not a true like if you're not like if you don't love Indiana Jones or like you didn't just watch the movie and it's been a long time like me because the first time I watched it I was very iffy on it. It was like a B minus. I was just like I was just like this is not. But then when I went back this past week and rewatched the original trilogy and then went back and saw it, it pays so much respect to those movies and it carries. It's just amazing how it took a character from the '80s and it finished him in the most. I couldn't think of a more perfect way to end the Indiana Jones franchise than what they did in Dial of Destiny. So that's why I give it my grade now is a B plus. Still not
absolutely,
still not great because of some issues I have with it, but it still is really good. And as far as the character of Indiana Jones, you could have not done better. My only issues are with the opening scene because we're still not there with the visual effects. It's uncanny looking. Like it's just you can never. None of the action scenes stand out. That's one of my problems with it. None of the action scenes really stand out except the ending. The ending has a great one, which I'll talk about in a second. But none of all the action scenes are very formulaic. The way it's shot is very formulaic. Uh, it has the Disney glossy CGI matte over it, so it takes away from that raw film grittiness of the original Indiana Jones movies. Let's see. Some of the characters could have been a little bit better, whereas Mads Mikkelsen's villain could have been a little bit stronger. I will say he could have been written better. He was good for what he had, but he could have been. He's not. He's probably the third. I'd put him as the third best villain in the franchise after Raiders and Temple of Doom. I think he's better than the villains in Last Crusade, but not Raiders or Temple of Doom. And but other than that, I'm trying to think. Even like the kid they try to make, Teddy is his name. He is really good. He's a young kid. He's a really. The first time I watched it, he kind of annoyed me. Second time he grew on me. There is a few pointless plot points in the film that do not need to be there. There's a whole thing with the CIA and the CIA agent that takes up about 20-25 minutes of the runtime that you could completely cut and would do nothing to the movie whatsoever. It would not hurt the movie. Like this movie did not have to be. It's 2.5 hours. It did not, because if you go back, Raiders is an hour 55, Temple of Doom's an hour 56, and Last Crusade is at 2 hours. So
yeah,
and this one, I feel like they tried to follow the trend that most movies are trying to do nowadays, where it's 2.5 hours or 3 hours. Like they're trying to just. It's like you can make a great movie in 2 hours. Like
absolutely.
Most of the greats are 2 hours or under. Like you can do that. You don't have to make it 2.5 hours. But so because of all those issues with the visual effects and all that, it's a B plus. I can't put it in the great territory. It's really good, almost great. If it wasn't for the Disney glossy matte look, where they completely took away. Like I mean, all of the action scenes, they just look so like on a set, and they just like they just feel so staged, and it looks just it's not intrigue, it's not good to look at. Like besides the ending is really pretty to look at, but besides the third act, it's not that pretty of a movie to look at. And that's one thing about the original trilogies, great cinematography, and it just isn't. It's not there in Dial of Destiny. So the problem is not with the story at all for me, besides, well, I say that, but besides the one storyline, the one that could have been cut completely with the CIA, but and a little bit more character development with Mads Mikkelsen's villain. But what they had to do perfect was Indiana Jones, and that's what they did. So that was good. And since you're not afraid of spoilers, they do something that I didn't think would work, because Crystal Skull was pushing it with the aliens.
Yeah.
Well, this one, they actually do time travel. The very end, they travel all the way back to Rome in the early 200s, and they meet Archimedes, the actual Archimedes from the old Roman times. And during the Roman, I think it's the siege of Syracuse, and but it works, and they're all outside, and the CGI is actually pretty good on it, and there's like Roman soldiers you see and fighting, and it's pretty good. But there's a great scene with Indy, because Indy's a history buff, and like he's actually there at one of the things he studied all his life, and he's actually like witnessing it, so he wants to stay there, and it's like it's so fitting for his character, because he got to go back in time and see one of history's great events that he's been studying all his life. Like it gave him that, and you can just see Harrison Ford. I mean, it looks like Indiana Jones. He looks like a child, like witnessing a roller coaster. Like it's like amazing. Like
Yeah,
the acting there was so good, where like you can tell, like man, he's just like floored because like he literally went back in time to Rome, ancient Rome, and saw one of the things he's been studying for years. And they handled it so well, and it feels believable. The way they write it in the story, it feels, because the thing about Indiana Jones is there always is a supernatural element. There always is something that's out of this world, but they always find the right line to toe with it. They always know how to keep it realistic enough. And Christopher
hmm
lost that completely. But and
mm.
you think with time travel they would lose it too, but the way it's, I will give the writers credit there. The way it's written, it fits. Like you don't feel it's out of place. It fits with the storyline. It fits with the rest of the trilogy, or the classic trilogy. It fits with the whole franchise, and it's just a really good send off for Indiana Jones by the end of it. Really.
That was a risk worth taking, basically. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it was. It's definitely a big. I could see where I can just imagine the writers and James Mango just thinking about like, can we really? Because like I even asked my friend. I went and saw it with a few friends last night that hadn't seen it, and I even asked them. I was like, do you guys think they're gonna go back in time? And like they both told me they think they're gonna attempt it, but they don't think they're actually gonna do it. And
yeah,
they kind of set you up for that the whole movie, where they kind of keep hinting at it, but like it's, you don't really believe they're going to do it, but then they actually do it. It's like, oh wow, we're actually doing this. And like at
yeah.
first, like, oh god, please don't go off the rails. It was scary the first time. I was like, oh my god, I got Crystal Skull flashback when I saw it the first time. I was like, oh my god, please don't go off the rails here.
Yeah,
But they don't. They don't. They keep it. They keep it in continuity with the franchise. They keep it realistic enough where you actually believe that they could do this. And it's, and I love time travel, so that speaks to, I love anything movies with time travel. So I mean, I'm gonna like it. So maybe that helped too, because I always will love a time travel element. But uh, they did it right, and it's a great send off.
yeah, and I love how they keep it going with every artifact that Indiana Jones goes after, because like the arc itself, like it's not supposed to be believable, but like after so many different warnings throughout the movie, like you, if you mess with this arc, it's a lot of death that's gonna come with it. So they show the consequences for messing with the arc, and then they do it again with Temple of Doom and like the different stones that you have to sacrifice people. And Indiana only had to get one and take it back to a village. And then Last Crusade, the artifact that he was looking for was also it fit. So I with little knowledge of what the Dial Destiny is, and just based off seeing trailers only, I would expect a time travel scene to definitely be placed properly in this movie. It's just I know a lot of people are very harsh on criticism towards time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to it because that's the artifact that Indiana Jones is after anyway. So it all should be forgiven.
And what they do with it, they don't dive into it enough where there has to be rules. Like, because that's the problem with time travel movies is every time travel movie has its own rules basically. Like a lot Back to the Future, a lot copy Back to the Future's rules a lot of the time. And I mean, like nobody knows really what time travel, because I mean, it's a out there sci-fi concept. So like you can't really be wrong, but you can be wrong at the same time because it can be like off-putting. But with this, they don't dive into the time travel enough because it's such a shock when it happens, and it so little changes. But there's just little subtle things that they do that on rewatch I caught. I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but there's on rewatch. There's things that they put in before they go back in time that you can tell that they're going to go back in time later in the movie. Like there's little things, like they find Archimedes' body and he has a watch on, and watches weren't made for like 1,000 years after Archimedes died, and somehow he has a watch on, and Indiana Jones is like freaked out. He's like, "How does he have this?" And then it kind of and then explains it later on in the movie how he has these things from the future in his on his tomb or whatever, and it's so and it's done so well and so subtly and so gracefully that it works. It works.
Yeah, that's how I like time travel handled in movies for sure.
Like they don't go
Uh,
back and try to, and even they kind of like they kind of fight against a lot of the times because Indy wants to stay, and his goddaughter's there with them, and she's like, "No, you're not staying," and she brings him back to the future, and she's like, "If you," and he's like, "Why didn't you let me stay?" Where she's like, "Well, for one, you would have destroyed history if you would have stayed back there. You would have messed with time." And like they kind of go out of their own way to kind of be like, yeah, hey, we're not going to do anything with time travel too crazy with time travel. We're not going to try to mess with time or anything here.
yeah,
We're just it served it served as a way for Indiana Jones to finally to see something that puts him in so much awe that it puts you in awe because you're seeing your childhood hero in awe of something else. And
yeah,
you're in awe of Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones is in awe of something. So it creates the emotional element because you're like he's looking around like a little kid, like watching the Romans fight, and it's like it's just crazy because you're just so happy for him. You're like, man, he finally got to see something he's been studying for years. He's right there in person. He's visiting it in person, like he gets to see it. And but then we bring him back to it ends. We bring him back to the I think it's 1969. This movie is set, and Marion comes in. They get back together, and it ends with him grabbing his hat, and then that's it.
yeah. Can you imagine like the type of cliffhanger you have to end this movie on if he went back in time and screwed with history? Like, and then like,
I was worried that because he was like because he gets I will say he gets shot in the movie. I think in his right shoulder or left shoulder, one of them, and he's laying there on the ground while he's watching the Romans fight, and his goddaughter's with him. He's like bleeding out a little bit, and he's like, "Just let me stay here." He said, I don't have anything to live for in the future. Just let me stay because Marion's left him, and that's another thing too. There's an emotional element there because his son died in Vietnam,
yeah,
and because of that, him and Marion got separated because he didn't know how to comfort her, and he feels like he has nothing to live for. So when he goes back in the future, he feels like he's in his element because he's at a historic event, and he's like, this is where I want to die because I don't have anything to live for. But then when we bring him back to the future, Marion comes back and he has his goddaughter to live for, and Stala from the first movie and the third movie, his buddy he comes back, and it's basically showing that like fortune and glory, like they say in Temple of Doom, like relics and artifacts and all that isn't everything. Like the people around you is important too,
mm-hmm,
and you need to live in the moment and be with people that care about you. And like, there are people that care about you, and like, it ends on such a happy, feel good note for Indiana Jones, and like, it makes you want to think about like all the people in your life that you care about too. And it's just a really good, heartwarming ending that actually isn't cheesy, it isn't cliche, it just works.
yeah. It's like a friendly reminder. Like, even if you feel like you have nothing worth living for or no motivation to go forward, like you just stick around long enough, you'll find it. Like, it'll
Yeah,
come to you. Yeah,
that's that's what I like about it because it's showing even Indiana Jones is struggling with his own mortality and his own life, and he's worried about what he has in his life. Even Indiana Jones, so like
yeah,
I think there's a great message there.
yeah. Even Indiana Jones himself is not safe from loneliness.
Yeah, exact.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
yeah. I definitely I'm looking forward to seeing this week. I'm going to see No Hard Feelings on Tuesday, and I'll try to squeeze in Dial of Destiny sometime after that. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to see this movie now because it's just like a great closing to it. I honestly think this is the movie that should have ended the Indiana Jones franchise because Harrison's
Yeah,
getting up there. You never know. We might turn on the news next week, God forbid, and Harrison's gone. And at least the
yeah,
series is done, and we don't have to worry about anybody replacing him as Indiana. So
yeah. I thank Kingdom of the Crystal Skull for helping because that was such a great experience seeing it in theaters as a little kid. But like, if we could erase that movie from time, I would erase that movie from time because this is like, if you just went from Last Crusade to this, it would have been so much better. And I feel like, I think part of the reason they made this movie is because everybody hated Crystal Skull. Like, I
it
really do
sounds
think
about
that.
right.
Like, I feel like they're like, we need to finish his character off better than we did because they do finish off his character in Crystal Skull. They end it in a way where you could be like, oh, that's the end of it. So like, I feel like they came back and like, we need to do it right, and what they needed to get right, they got right. Like I said, just the uncanny valley with the de-aging it's not good. Disney, please stop with your glossy, matted color grading. Like, there's people like, make it feel like a real film. Don't make it feel like they're on set the whole movie. And like, just have some vitality to you. Like, have some vitality to the filmmaking. Like, don't just have it. Just feels very flat. Like, the action scenes are just like basic action scenes. It's just, there's only one cool scene where they go down to get a map that shows them where the other half of the Dial of the Destiny is, and there's a bunch of eels that come out, and there's a cool scene where that's a cool action scene. But other than that, the rest are so, there's not like one memorable action scene in that movie. And
Yeah,
that's where I have to go with the B plus and not put it in the A category because it just doesn't have a memorable action scene. The visual effects aren't the greatest, and it doesn't hold a candle to the filmmaking techniques of the original trilogy.
right. And honestly, enough, like Disney's making so much money. Why would you not invest it into making your movies come out better?
Yeah, and I
It's like,
mean, I feel sorry for the visual effects workers too because
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to. That's another. I want to make that clear. I'm not dogging on the visual effects workers because I know they worked overtime. It's completely Disney's fault.
mm-hmm.
They probably pushed them so much and like, hey, you got to get this done. And it's not James Mangold's fault. He's the best director they could have picked for this movie by far. It's just the Mickey Mouse was raining terror on these people probably, and it's unfortunate because while it's a really good movie, and I can't say I love it because of the issues I have with it, and but I do love how they ended it.
Yeah,
I just see what could have been at the same time where I'm like, if you would just allow filmmakers to make their films and let the visual effects artists have their time and not push them somewhere, like you could have another A plus, you could have another Raiders, but like they just they just won't do it. They got to make that money. They're worried about the money.
it's like you could make billions if you just take your time. Like you're exchanging billions for millions at this point because you're rushing the movie out and selling it based on the name. But at the same time, if the quality doesn't keep the audience entertained, then you cut your profit in half. So
And
I couldn't.
that's how I mean, we're seeing it now in the box office. We're seeing it now with The Flash. We're seeing it with, I think, over half of like the big movies that were supposed to do good have bombed. Like even
Mm-hmm.
Dial of Destiny isn't doing well. Like even Indiana
Man,
Jones Dial of Destiny is not doing its projected numbers. It's going below. Like right, that's the new conversation I've been seeing lately on social media is that Indiana Jones isn't performing well at the box office either. So it's like people are starting to get tired of it. They're starting people that go to the movies are getting tired of the forced rush stuff. And then there's also the streaming aspect where, the movie's going to be on streaming in a month. So why even go to the theater? Why even do that?
yeah,
Like, I just,
it's
You
killing the
can't
movie experience for sure.
you can't beat a movie theater experience. I don't. You can't replicate that. Like you can have like I have a 4K TV, I have a sound system, but like it's still not the same. It's still not the same. Like a movie theater is a movie theater, and you can't replace that. And I feel like we as just everybody should go to the movies more and support them more and support filmmakers more honestly because like and visual effects artists and like now with the writer's strike it's it's in the box office bombing lately. It's looking really grim in the film industry right now, which is scary for I mean me and you because I mean that's
Yeah, it's like that's our place to be in the future. That's the
yeah
place where we
that's where
want to
we're gonna
be.
be. So
Yeah,
it's scary to see the writer's strike happening and the visual effects artists being just abused and they came out about visual effects artists on even across the Spider Verse were being bullied and which is sad to hear because it's such a great movie
it is.
and it's just like if people would just believe more in the power of film and they would
And
I know you got to make money but the money will come if you just allow filmmakers to make films. I mean look back in the 70s and the 80s with like when Spielberg was coming up with Jaws and like Martin Scorsese and all of them like coming up they made tons of money. Jaws was the first blockbuster and
yeah,
that Steven Spielberg was a no name when that Jaws came out. He was nothing, and it was the first block. They called Jaws the first blockbuster for a reason, because it destroyed the box office. Literally, like everybody went and saw that movie, and it's because it's a masterpiece. It's a great film, and he made it on a lower budget, and he actually shot it, and like there's used real effects, and it's like you can make money. Just see what they were doing in the 70s and 80s. I just don't. And
yeah.
I don't want to. I'm not gonna because I don't want to ruin my chances for working for Disney or nothing because I'd work, but I'm just saying, come on, Disney, like
Yeah,
respect the filmmaking process more.
yeah. Respect your whole production staff, man. Because
Yeah,
we are the heart and soul of the films that come out, and then the people who go and watch these movies are like the heart and soul of basically the entertainment industry in general. Like the
keep it
entertainment
going.
industry would die without them. So
If it wasn't
you're
for
going to
movie
keep
theaters, I mean,
pissing fans off. You're going to find out the consequences like the hard ways. So,
DC's learning it right now. Warner Brothers
yeah,
with the Flash. I think
yeah.
I think they're. I heard last like they're projected to lose like 200 million or something. Or no, yeah, 200 million or something. And because of just like all the marketing they did too, it's just like if you made a
Man,
better movie with better visual effects and you didn't rush it and you actually when the star of your movie was causing problems, if you would have just pulled the
could
hammer.
have
That's another thing that's so weird. Like Warner Brothers didn't do that to him, but like James Gunn got canceled over old tweets.
an old tweet too, and
It doesn't make like how does Ezra Miller get away with kidnapping an 18-year-old girl? I think it was or something,
it was
running off with
grooming
a young
too.
yeah
Yeah,
grooming, running off with the girl and stuff. But James Gunn can't make a joke on Twitter without being fired by Disney. Like it doesn't make sense, man.
it's strange because they're on the fence about Jonathan Majors and all this situation, and
That's another one. Like Jonathan, that's such a. I know it's Disney, so Warner Brothers is a little more adult than Disney, so I can see where it would be a little different because Disney has to keep that childlike brand to them. But I
mm-hmm,
mean, at the same time, if Ezra Miller can get away with what he's getting away with, then you should treat everybody. Jonathan Majors should get another shot too if you're going to do that. I mean, if it turned out that what he did was true, then he's a piece of shit, and we
right.
should like okay, he's a piece of shit, and okay, recast him. I'm fine with that because I don't want to watch a piece of shit in a movie. But like, if he was accused and it turns out to be false, then like pay him back, like get him, like allow him to like actually still have a career, like.
Yeah, because when the allegations came out, even the talent agency that he was with abandoned him. And it's just like, damn, at least wait till he's guilty first. Like, it's just a mixed bag. Like, they'll drop Jonathan Majors. He's lost like endorsements and all sorts of stuff when the
Mm-hmm.
allegations came out. But Ezra had like charges, like actual charges against him, and
Actual proof he
people
did it too.
like people filing restraining orders against him. He's just like, I want you guys to enjoy Flash because it's going to be the best superhero movie of all time. It's like I wouldn't even let that come out my mouth, knowing Ezra Miller is the main character. Like I would never say that.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, the type of controversy that comes between Disney and Warner Brothers makes me want to start my own studio and just outdo them.
that's why I love
That's how I feel.
A24.
A24 is the future.
Stuff like A24. That's why I love. I mean, now they're bigger than they used to. They used to be indie. I mean, they're starting to become not indie anymore because of how famous they're getting. But they let filmmakers make films. And look at A24. They're a thriving production company. They're not struggling in money at all, and they make these
Mm-mm.
weird, out of balance films sometimes that everybody hates, and like they still make money. I mean, because they're letting filmmakers, because filmmakers want to be with them, because they let their filmmakers tell the vision they want to tell.
Exactly. It's just like you got a gang of good horror movies and all that. Like if you have a vision, A24 kind of trusts you with your vision and lets you do your thing.
Hmm.
And some of these heavy hitters, like, well, I wouldn't call Blumhouse a heavy hitter. Blumhouse is pretty veteran. It's been around for a little bit, but it's also compared to like Disney and Warner Brothers, it's nowhere near their league yet. But I can respect some of these lower, almost indie level studios and how they treat their production staff.
Like another one that's basically the new A24 is it's called Neon, is coming up. I don't know if you've heard of Neon,
I have
but
not.
they made a Pig Nicolas Cage a few years back, which is a great movie. They made Spencer with Christian Stewart. What else? They made a couple of similar well-known films, kind of well-known, kind of not, but like they're a great company too. That's just coming up. It's like there's other companies out there that are making money and letting filmmakers do what they want to do. And I mean, yeah, they're not able to give as big of budgets, but you don't need big budgets to tell a great story.
You really don't.
Like Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny probably would have done better if they used less money.
Yeah, because with Disney money, you could just use drones to like capture landscape shots and all that. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like Raiders of the Ark was like it's probably my favorite cinematography out of the whole trilogy because they captured the land around them so well, and
Oh, just the fight
even
scene
if you
is so
had
visceral, dude.
yeah, and the sets look good. Like you could tell stuff was fake now as an adult from like a director's perspective, but like as a kid watching that, you're just like he's really in the jungle, and the jungle looks good. So
Hmm.
I really appreciate the effort they put into it.
Yeah, it's just respect filmmaking.
Absolutely,
If you if you leave with anything from the podcast, respect filmmaking.
absolutely. Give your filmmakers their space to let their vision grow.
And for Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, definitely go see it. Definitely go see it. Definitely. I mean, but I know I named the issues that really bothered me, and I said it's really good, and I don't love it, but I still am very happy with what I got. I'll rewatch it. It's definitely one to rewatch. It's not one you're gonna forget. It's a memorable. It's memorable. It's good. They end the character the right way. They end Indy the right way, and it's great to know that we don't have to worry about his legacy or the legacy of the character being tarnished, because it's over. It's they did it the best they could. And shout out to James Mangold for being a GOAT director.
Shout out to Jimmy the Goat. Yes, sir. So that's all I got for Indiana Jones. I do want to put this out there that well, y'all can expect to see like Barbie and Oppenheimer in the next review too. If Jacob wants to, you could do Sound of Freedom too. I highly encourage that for everyone.
Sound of
That's probably
Freedom.
going to be, yeah.
I want to ask you real quick about that one because like I see like so many people around here have been going to see that and like everybody's been talking about it. I was like, what? Like I saw you can people are going to see it for free and stuff. Like, what is the deal with that?
Yeah, they even have their own website too. It's like angel.com/freedom. And it's like a whole movement against child trafficking. And that's what this whole movie is about, is like
Oh,
trying to raise money and awareness against like it's like child trafficking rings and all that, and trying to end slavery. And I, I don't know like where exactly everything connects and goes, but like the movie is based on a true story about like a special agent who kind of handled like pedophiles in the United States, but then like two kids in particular got kidnapped and they were put into like a sex trafficking ring out in Colombia, and so
mm,
he went out of his jurisdiction to go get those kids back. It is such a crazy story, and it's all true. How he took down at least two or three rings before he retired, and his life was on the line 24/7. But like you watch that movie, I'm not gonna do like a spoiler review or anything of that nature. I'm just gonna give you guys like a synopsis. But when you sit in that theater, like there's gonna be scenes where you're gonna like see like pedophiles, and you're gonna get really pissed off. And then when he rescues the kids and you see the kids reunite with their parents, you're probably gonna cry too. So it's a high level, probably under marketed movie right now, but it's going to get marketed correctly. So they used the website to so you could buy tickets for charity, so other people can get on the website and use those tickets and go see it themselves, because they're trying
mm.
to get max participation, and all the money that this movie makes will probably go towards the efforts. So it's incredible.
I see. I thought I was completely off about that movie. I thought it was a Christian movie.
Shoot, he has this one catchphrase in the movie that throws that probably, I don't know if it's in the trailer or not, but he says all God's children are not for sale. And I think the name of the movie, Sound of Freedom, is a line that they drop in the movie too. But those are like the two main lines. Like the background music, the score, like is a choir of kids singing God's children are not for sale in Spanish, and it gives you goosebumps when they sing it. It's so crazy. Like I would go back and see it again, but I'm trying not to get like rage mode. Like I'm going to go punch a pedophile in the face type. Like it's a crazy movie, and the fact that it's raising awareness for people, and like we need to prioritize like what our issues are in America. I highly respect it. It might be a contender for top of 2023.
Oh man, I'll have to check it out
Yeah.
then.
But yeah, if you guys get to the theaters, check that out. You may see it in the next episode sometime this month. So it'll be Jacob's Film Perspectives episode 4,
You guys will
and
be
then
ready for Barbie and Oppenheimer because I'm seeing that. I've been looking forward to those two movies for 2 years now. Christopher Nolan, Christopher Nolan is my favorite director. I love Greta Gerwig. Ryan Gosling is my favorite actor. I love Margot Robbie.
mm-hmm.
I'm watching both of those opening weekend easily. So and I'm gonna be watching it probably more than once because I'm more excited for Oppenheimer because Christopher Nolan is my favorite director, and he used no visual effects. Have you seen that?
I had no clue.
Apparently it's come out. He's used zero visual effects in this movie, which I don't know how that's possible, but okay. I mean, I'll watch the movie and see for myself, but like if that's I don't know if that's a marketing ploy, but if it's true, that will be one of the greatest. things in cinema. Because Jesus, how can you do that when you're making a movie about an atomic bomb? But just yeah, Oppenheimer and Barbie. If you guys are excited for that at all, definitely come back for episode 4 because that's going to be the main two topics. It's going to be all Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, so Barbie's like my guilty pleasure. Like I'm willing to risk $14 to go see that, and I'm banking
Oh,
on it being good.
oh yeah, Ryan Gosling is Ken, Margot Robbie is Barbie. Come on, you got to.
Yeah,
And Greta
Will
Gerwig
Ferrell.
is
Yeah,
you can never go wrong with Greta Gerwig. Like I've seen a lot of her movies she's directed, and she was an actress before she was a director, and
was.
she's a great actress and a great director. So like I know both of them are gonna be great. And I mean, like I said, Nolan is the goat for me. He's my favorite director of all time. So I know Oppenheimer could it beat The Dark Knight? Could it beat Inception? Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out one way or another. But yeah, outside of episode 4 that's on the way, we're still trying to figure out a date for that, and we'll announce that whenever Jacob's comfortable. We do have one new episode of Saturday Night Nerds Late Nights podcast that is coming out next Sunday at 9:30. So Emperor will be doing an interview with some big time content creators, Panda Huggles and Nazo Gaming. So if anybody's staying up late that Sunday night, you'll be able to tune in and catch that show. And then episode 7 of the main podcast will be July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Central. So, and we'll drop a whole calendar for all of our upcoming shows, so you guys can keep tabs on that.
I've actually looked. It's gonna be even more busy, which is crazy. June was such a. I mean, we just did 6 movies, but July is gonna. Oh my god! Because after we have Mission Impossible this weekend, yeah, this weekend Mission Impossible 7, and then we have Barbie and Oppenheimer the next weekend, and then the next weekend, July 28th is something. What is that? What is that movie? There's a huge movie coming out July 28th.
July 28th. July 28th. I bet Fandango has it. I'm gonna try to look that up real quick. Yeah, it once you go see Sound of Freedom, your opinion on things might change drastically for sure. Fandango, where are you? There you are. So coming soon. Oh, that's gonna take me a second. But you have any announcements you got to make, or
Uh, Besides July and August being probably more crazy than June, expect some. I probably will say July and August will have more episodes than June and May had for sure, just because of
yeah,
the amount of movies that are coming out. Both just like this year is just packed. This year is just absolutely packed.
yeah, we got our works cut out for us.
Like I thought June was going to be a packed month, and I've been looking at July and August, and holy crap, it's going to be
Let's
nuts.
see.
I'm looking at upcoming movie. I'm trying to find it too. There's something
So,
July 28th.
so Dune is Haunted Mansion, Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion. That's it. I'm definitely going to
Yeah.
check that out. I love Lakeith Stanfield.
Oh,
I love him.
that's the one guy I'm afraid of.
You're afraid of him?
I'm scared of Lakeith Stansfield. They typecast him a lot for weirdo characters, and it's just like
I can
mm-hmm. It's like, why are they that comfortable doing that with him? I'll fight Dwayne Johnson before I fight him.
I can see that. Sorry to bother you. And Atlanta, he plays a weird character. I love Lakeith Stanfield though, man. He's so good.
Yeah, I wish he would play like a villain or something. I can
He could be a
tolerate him.
terrifying villain. I could see
Yeah,
that. I could see him being because he's such a good at playing a weirdo that he could be a terrifying villain.
yeah, he can. It's
But
just
yeah,
like
my buddy James here just said, "Talk to me in Haunted Mansion, July 28th." Yep, those two. I will be
Yeah,
talking. That's an
talk to
A24.
me. That's the one with the hand with
Yep.
in the supernatural horror film. Like,
A24
yeah,
horror. So A24 horror, I'm there opening day. So yeah, like I said, Barbie and Oppenheimer. No, see, this is how many movies there are. I'm mixing them up. Mission Impossible is next week. Barbie and Oppenheimer the next week. Talk to Me in Haunted Mansion the next week, and then the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is the next week.
yeah. We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja
And
Turtles.
then Blue Beetle, I
Uh,
think, is the next week after that, or the week, maybe 2 weeks after that. Blue Beetle's in August too.
yeah, we got that one listed as one of our topics for episode 8. So that's supposed to be August 19th,
Hmm.
and then September you also got Legend of the White Dragon that's dropping. So we get to see James J, David Frank JDF. We get to see JDF one more time, and the promotion, like you see posters for it, but you don't see a whole lot of promotion for it. But I'm still going to see it no matter what because JDF's my guy. And then you got Craven the Hunter the month after that. So between JFP and SNN, we got, oh, we're gonna get slammed in November too. So we got
Oh
our
yeah,
hands full.
like the rest of this year is just going to be fully loaded.
Yeah. So
So
guys,
be
don't be
ready.
surprised. Yeah, so we go from episode 3 of JFP to like episode 10 in like in like a couple months.
Yeah, I can see it happening. I can see it happening, honestly.
Yeah, so have
But
to pace these bad boys out.
until then, Barbie and Oppenheimer will be the next one you guys can look forward to, and I plan on seeing a Mission Impossible too sometime because that's my favorite action franchise besides John Wick. So I will probably cover that in the same one. So it'll probably be Barbie, Mission Impossible, and Oppenheimer. So
Money.
yeah,
Yes, sir. Well, if that's all you got, that's all I got.
all I got.
And thank you everybody for tuning in to Jacob's Film Perspectives episode 3. And we will catch you guys